Bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show, with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Good morning to you. It is 4 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday, the 22nd of March. You're very welcome along to the 9 till Noon Show. We are live with you, of course, until noon. The lines are open for you. Get in touch. We'll remind you of the numbers in a moment. Plenty coming up on the programme, of course, not least the Community Garter slot, where we'll bring all the latest Community Garter information for you. Don't forget, if you want to watch today's programme, watch many of our guests, you can hop online right now, highlandradio.com. You should see a watch live icon there. Click through, watch in your browser. And we're going to be updating that for you in the not too distant future as well, to make it even easier for you. Go straight to our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland. Give us a like or a subscribe there. It's useful. I know everyone says it, but it is actually really quite useful in getting the message out. Or on Facebook, it's Highland Radio News and Sport or Highland Hub. Right, the papers this morning. The Donegal People's Press. Hotels help out. Almost every hotel in Donegal is expected to accommodate some Ukrainian families on a short-term basis in the coming weeks, the Irish Hotels Federation has said. Several hotels in the county have already taken in small numbers of refugees. A number of other hotels in the county are said to be considering entering into arrangements to give over significant numbers of rooms for emergency accommodation. McGettigan's Hotel in Letterkenny has given more than 50 rooms to accommodate Ukrainian families. Micheál Naughton, a county councillor and general manager of McGettigan's Hotel in Letterkenny, said 32 of the hotel rooms are available for booking by guests, which beggars the question how some are being contacted saying that their rooms are no longer available for weddings, etc. He confirmed that the first Ukrainian families were expected to arrive yesterday and today. The hotel is due to take refugees that could not be accommodated in 3 of the group's hotels in Dublin and Bray, Mr. Naughton said. Some bookings have been cancelled in recent days, but the hotel has been trying to accommodate guests in the group's Clanree Hotel or other hotels in the town, he added. And I just wonder if more rooms are given over, what could be the ripple impact of that be, not in that one particular hotel, but in the hotel sector. You know, obviously, it would mean more calls, maybe saying that unfortunately your wedding has been cancelled or your booking has been cancelled. But could it have a ripple effect too on the economy? Because I think a lot of people were hoping. I can't see how we can get these people back to their homes where they'll want to be, I presume, in 3 months. And I don't see how we can provide accommodation that isn't a hotel in under 3 months, if you know what I'm saying. So whilst it seems to be 3-month contracts, you wonder, will they run beyond that? And if so, what does that mean then in terms of, you know, people coming to visit Donegal? And I'm not being in any way heartless, I hope, as it relates to the awful tragedy that's unfolding in the Ukraine. But, you know, a lot of people visiting the county and the impact that has on our economy, and we're already going to be struggling. You just wonder if there is any alternative way of helping and accommodating these people, but it not having a wider impact. Listen, if I can get an opportunity to speak to someone who's involved in the project, I'd love to ask these questions. As I say, it's not to say that these people aren't welcome or to try and imply in any way that is the case. But I mean, obviously there's wider implications for every action. There is a reaction. The Derry Journal. The greatest wish of a local woman who's seeking treatment for a debilitating condition that has led to her losing her sight and suffering seizures is to be able to see her nieces and nephews again. An important story from Laura Glenn in the paper today. Thousands of euro has been raised in Inishowen and beyond for treatment for Nicole McDermott, who originally is from Derry and is married to well-known Bertman Kieran McDermott. The full story there on the front of and inside that paper. The Irish Independent tells us today that farmers are set to get a special subsidy worth up to €400 for every extra hectare of land they use to grow crops this year, amid fears of fodder shortages as a result of the war in Ukraine. Now, of course, on the face of it, it sounds good, but the costs associated with actually giving over your land to grow this stuff, I wonder how close 400 might come to making it worthwhile for them to do so. Cabinet is expected to agree today to set aside more than 12 million for direct payments to farmers to grow an additional 25 1,000 hectares of barley, oat and wheat crops this year. Ireland relies on around 14% of its grain requirements for animal feed from Ukraine, as well as 20% of its fertiliser feeds. The crisis in Ukraine has had an impact on Irish agriculture and supply chains, with the pig and poultry sectors under severe financial pressure due to their reliance on grain. The National Fodder and Food Security Committee will meet today for the second time to discuss the ongoing drive to ramp up the sowing of crops. On to the Irish Times, and they tell us that several large offshore wind farms with capacity to power 3 million homes are set to be fast-tracked from this year under a new maritime regulation regime. As part of a multi-billion euro investment programme, Minister for the Environment, Eamon Ryan, has invited applications from developers of 6 wind farm proposals for the Irish Sea and one off the west coast. Under new powers, the first tranche of projects using fixed turbines will be able to obtain consent from the Minister, enabling them to go direct to An Bord Pleanála for consideration. Providing they meet planning, environment and financial requirements, it brings the prospect of beginning to generate power from 2027, supplying 3 gigawatts of renewable power to the national grid. Now, I hope, wind is excellent when it's windy. I think we were producing something like 85% of our electricity needs via wind last week because it was very, very windy. But as soon as the wind dies, the capacity drops then as well. Our offshore wind farms, is it more, pardon my ignorance, I'm going to sound silly saying this, but is it more windy offshore, or are we still going to be reliant on the wind blowing? Because I think for this to be successful, you need wind when it's windy, you need to be able to store that energy, but also you need solar when it's not as windy. But perhaps maybe, as I say, there has been talk of wave technology, hydro technology in the past, but we're putting all our eggs in the offshore wind basket, it seems. There's still going to be some onshore wind developments, but I just wonder, are offshore wind farms less susceptible to the wind dropping off? As I say, I'm open to be called ignorant on that one because it does sound a bit ignorant. The Irish Times also telling us that Ukraine is still fighting to retain control of its strategic southern eastern port of Mariupol after rejecting a Russian ultimatum to surrender a city where the top diplomat of Germany and the European Union said Moscow's forces had committed war crimes. This city has been devastated. 90% of buildings either destroyed or damaged. They fear 40,000 people, 40,000 civilians could be under the rubble here that could have already have died, if not more. That is the extent of what we're talking about. This is something that is just going to be with us forever, that loss of life. And you know, whatever we talk about or whatever people talk about, and I get it, and we've done it on this programme about what may have led to this, you know, poking the bear and all that type of stuff and what the West might be guilty of and all of that. I get it. We have that conversation, and it's important to look at things in the wider context. But nothing, surely nothing, justifies the encircling of a city and the bombing of it with the loss of potentially at least 40,000 lives. Daughters, children, babies, mums, grandmothers, fathers, sons. Nothing can justify the wiping out of at least 40,000 people. And that's what they fear, that there could be that amount of people under the rubble or dead already in Mariupol, and the worst could be yet to come. And you could say, right, well, why don't they surrender? Why don't they give up? Then what is next? A survey of Russian people, and I'm told it is a pretty reliable survey, found that 76% of Russians, I believe it to be 76% of Russians, think that they should invade Poland next. That's what that survey showed. So if you give in there, what is next? Did you find that when you went into the shop yesterday, you're so reliant on your card, you've given up on your cash, it's all about tapping, be it your phone, your watch, your card, and you're standing at the machine, sorry, we don't take cards. Well, I've got no cash. Sorry, we can't take cards. I've got no cash. Maybe you were left in a pickle. Well, it's because card machines throughout Ireland were down yesterday, causing losses of millions to businesses and sparking fears of a cyber attack. I have heard no mention of a cyber attack, but what it does show is how reliant we have become on digital transactions. And I posted this on my socials yesterday. A lot of the comments were, cash is king. This is why you need cash to protect yourself from this type of a scenario. Well, shops were forced to put up signs telling customers they could only accept cash. Online payments were also affected. The problem was caused by a systems crash at the payment company Opeo and also affected the UK. A Spar in Kilmainham, South Dublin, had signs at the tills asking customers to use cash only and said the systems are affected across the country. Well, we know they were. They went down in mid-afternoon, didn't come back up till 11 o'clock at night. But a lot of people standing there going, well, what do you do when you don't have any cash and your card doesn't work? Your card doesn't work. So maybe cash is king, who's to say? A lot of people feel that's the case. The Sun this morning, the chief suspect in the shock shooting of brave mum of 5, Sandra Boyd, was last night being quizzed by Gardaí. The man, who's aged 27 and was known to the victim, was arrested near the city centre area of Dublin yesterday morning on suspicion of murder. He can now be held for up to a week before being either charged or released. The suspect was arrested 2 days after Sandra lost her fight for life on Saturday night. And may she rest in peace and justice be delivered for her family. The Star today, it's actually the Mirror, tells us that the High Court has made a pre-trial discovery order in civil proceedings being taken against MMA star Conor McGregor. The UFC fighter and associate are being sued for personal injuries by a Dublin woman arising out of an alleged incident that occurred in December 2018. Now, I'm not saying anything happened, but a lot of you might remember that a lot of this stuff was being talked about in social media, and people were saying, well, why is it not being talked about in the mainstream media? But obviously there are rules that prohibit that because people have a right to justice and due process, both the victim and any alleged perpetrator. Now, I'm not suggesting there is a victim or a perpetrator. I don't know enough about the case here, but certainly something's going on. The order was made by Mr Justice Emily Egan yesterday, which requires An Garda Síochána, which is a non-party in the proceedings, to disclose certain materials and documents to the woman and her lawyer. Mr McGregor, originally from Crumlin and who strongly denies all claims of wrongdoing against him, will be furnished with copies of the materials disclosed by Gardaí, and they're talking access to his phones, communications, and all that type of stuff. Right, are you a football fan, a soccer fan? You'll be delighted, will you? Because I think this is going to be an interesting conversation, this one. Because Ireland, we are set to co-host Euro 2028. The reason being no one else is voting for it. Now, until COVID is fully gone, we could be facing into a recession. I just wonder, is now the time for us to be pumping money into hosting a major event? They say how many people visit here and what it's worth to the economy, but do we ever actually really know that or feel that? But anyway, listen, I think it's a good thing. Ireland will co-host Euro 2028 with England, Scotland and Wales, with Northern Ireland possibly joining the Anglo-Celtic tournament. The Cabinet will sign off its commitment on the joint bid today. The British government is also doing so, which means the 4 or 5 nation proposal has financial, logistic and political backing from these islands. The bid will be lodged with UEFA by tomorrow's deadline. Now, one question I would wonder, and as I say, I don't want to be a party pooper, is, these things look nice and, we can host this, that and the other, and you get all the razzle-dazzle and all the dignitaries get lined out into the pitch and they have a great day out and drink their champers and eat their prawn sandwiches. But I wonder, would we not be better putting our efforts into promoting and enhancing our National Football League so that maybe more of our players here can contribute to the national setup and have their glory days down the road? I just wonder if we put the same effort that we're going to be putting into this tournament, if we said, do you know what, it's a bit of a vanity project, let's pump our resources into supporting and enhancing the league within the island, or on the island even, whichever way it would work out best. I just wonder, maybe should that be where our interests are, or should we just go for the glory, stuff it? We might get a day out down in the Aviva or Croke Park, which would require updating, and of course then there would be football matches, GA matches, which would be disrupted and so on and so forth. But anyway, I wonder why no one else wants this particular tournament, just us and our neighbours. Right, 086 60 25,000. That is the WhatsApp line. That is the WhatsApp line. The WhatsApp line, I said, didn't I? The text number as well. 07491 25,000 to give Caroline a call. Okay, next guest, or first guest, in fact, on the way.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Mortgages now available with a personalised service from your local and friendly credit union. Email mortgage@letterkennycu.ie.
Hello, Grace. Where are you heading?
Down to Made to Measure Fireplaces in Creasla.
Made to measure fireplaces? Didn't you just buy a fireplace there?
Yeah, but I'm going now to pick my kitchen worktop.
Create the kitchen and living room of your dreams at made-to-measure fireplaces and granite worktops. They've been in business for over 40 years. So for help choosing granite or quartz for your worktop, fireplace or stove, visit the made-to-measure showroom at Cashel Creesla or see mtmfireplaces.com or on Facebook.
The Northwest Independent Clinic is now Kingsbridge Private Hospital. Yes, we have arrived in Ballykelly, and if you need treatment or surgery, there is no need to wait. At Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest, you will have access to over 300 consultants and hundreds of treatments and services. We are approved by all major insurance companies and self-pay options are available. In fact, treatment could cost less than you think. And with guaranteed 5-star care from treatment right through to your personalised recovery plan, we will be with you every step of the way. So why wait? Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com today.
When you get the M&S app, you get the good stuff. Good stuff that comes from Sparks, the M&S reward scheme. Like personalised offers tailored just for you, easy breezy shopping and returns too. Good stuff like the chance to get your shopping for free, a donation to your chosen Sparks charity every time you shop. And good stuff like little treats because, well, who doesn't like a little treat every now and then? Download the M&S app today and get the good stuff. Terms and conditions apply. See marksandSpencer.ie for details.
Forward Emphasis International, based in Mallinhead, are actively recruiting for customer service advisors with both permanent remote working and hybrid opportunities available. Experience in contact centres or insurance services is desirable but not essential, as full training is provided. Fully funded financial services qualifications delivering attractive career path opportunities are available. Please visit their website www.forwardemphasis.ie or apply via their careers page.
Okay, right. A man has been arrested after a paramedic was viciously assaulted while attending a call-out in Letterkenny at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. The paramedic attended the scene of an incident at Justice Walsh Road in the centre of the town. While at the call-out, the paramedic was set upon by a male. The medic received a number of injuries, included a suspected broken wrist and facial injuries. He was taken to the hospital where he was treated for his injuries. Garter confirmed that a man has been arrested in a follow-up investigation, and I'm sure this will be the subject of an appeal later on during our Garter community information item. But this is just the latest, really, assault against people in the emergency services, be it paramedics on scene or people within the hospital. Councillor Jane McMonigal, Chair of the Joint Policing Committee and Chair of the Regional Health Forum Rest. Obviously, you know, this is a matter for the courts now, so there's not much we can say, but we can certainly talk generally speaking and say that this is just completely unacceptable behaviour on by any metric.
Yeah, good morning, Greg, and you outlined it quite well there, and you're absolutely right. It is totally unacceptable, and I hope that the paramedic who was injured makes a speedy recovery and is able to return to his work. And as you say, the ambulance service is nothing new. Unfortunately, for all our emergency services, they're at the end of assaults regularly, and particularly the Gardaí, the ambulance service, and the fire brigade. And then we have what's happening in actual emergency at times, and it's just not good enough. And from the point of view that people who are going out in the daily work to help and assist, and particularly this particular case where they will respond to a call of help and need and going about their work, and then to be viciously assaulted, it just can't be allowed to continue.
Yep, those are the physical assaults as well, and we would know there's, verbal intimidation and assaults on the wards as well. Obviously, not talking about this case specifically, do we need to look at, and I think someone has brought forward an item on this. I'm sure we did an interview in it not so long ago, but look at the deterrent, the sentence for this type of activity that we're talking about generally. Do we need to be looking at that?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to come on to, that our emergency service personnel need to be protected, and if and when they come and be assaulted in the line of their duty, then yes, they certainly need protection. Look, I've been talking to people from yesterday since this news broke, and that was the most thing that people were saying. They'll get a slap in the wrist when they go to court. Things need to be sorted out. Needs to be more stringent sentencing, and this can't be allowed to happen. So, it's out of our hands. It's out of the Gardaí's hands. They'll do the investigation. They'll present the defendant to the courts. The courts then need to look at this. This is people who are going about the business on a daily basis, who are protecting and many times saving our lives, and then they're being subjected to these attacks. And as you said, they're on the rise. Since 2018, and then they rose again in 2019, and been further increases in them years since. And it has to be stopped. So there needs to be an adequate and sufficient deterrent. And if that means then introducing jail sentences for people who attack members of our emergency services, then that needs to be the deterrent, because it has to stop.
Yeah, I think an assault against you or me has to be treated differently to an assault against someone in a life-saving role or guard, you know what I mean? People in this type of instance, there has to be some, I'm not sure, maybe there is, I probably should know, but there has to be a difference between, as I say, an assault on the likes of me versus an assault on a medic or a guard or a fire person or whatever it might be.
Yeah, because they're not going to affect to that, Greg. And while there was a physical assault and physical injuries yesterday, there also has to be an attack and long-term, sort of mental anguish come out of that every call they're going to go to. Is there that worry, that concern that they could be put in that type of situation where an assault could occur? And then would lead to people thinking, you know what, I would like to do that job, but I'm not, I don't want to be involved in that. They weren't going to be assaulted. So there needs to be a deterrent. We need to protect them. They're doing fantastic jobs, and especially now during what we've come through this last 2 years. Them people have been turning up for their work every single day, exposing themselves to all the dangers that COVID was presenting for them, and ensuring that they give the best care they could. They've done training for a long number of years to ensure that they have the medical experience and skills that are needed to save people's lives. And then incidents like this are happening, and it's not good enough because they're in the increase. So there needs to be a sufficient deterrent to stop these actions happening against them.
Yeah, but we're so far away from that, though, because what you do see in cases like this is that you could have a victim who is still in hospital or just home recovering from their injuries, and a person who might be suspected of being responsible being free.
Yeah.
I mean, how would that make a victim in an incident like this feel, I wonder?
And that's what I'm saying, the long-term effect on the victims. And we've heard through your show over the years about the long-term effect of whether it be assaults or burglaries, because there is that long-term sort of mental anguish. And if someone, as you say, who was a victim of the assault is in hospital, and the person allegedly responsible for it is out walking about the street, and maybe then the victim is off work for a number of months, then this is where these
with the potential to come across an alleged perpetrator as well. As I say, we're not talking specifically about this case, but we've seen cases in the past. I mean, it's hard to believe that's the way the system is set up.
Well, look, we see the court cases quite regularly across the board. You see it every week in the papers. A lot of people are commenting that it has become very lenient, consistent, persistent offenders been getting off and off. But I think in cases like this, where people who are providing the medical care, the Gardaí, the fire service, people who are providing emergency services, they need to be specially protected because they're doing special jobs, and we need them people. We need need more of them. So, look, we have a situation. We know the problems we're having at the hospital. We know about ambulances queuing up because of the increased demand and footfall at the emergency department. And yesterday was a particularly hard day for the ambulance service and indeed for the hospital and their staff. And then we have this at 9 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's unbelievable, really.
Yeah, all right. Okay, listen, thank you very much indeed for your comments on that. Councillor Jerry McMonigal, Chair of the Joint Policing Committee and Chair also of the Regional Health Forum West, and I'm sure that will be the subject of a conversation at the next meeting of that forum. A caller says, I think this census is an information gathering this year. How many bedrooms do we use? Bedroom tax on the horizon, new bill being proposed including the possibility of the government having the power to take ownership of our private property for the greater good. What is that reminiscent of? Be careful, a lot of people obviously depending on where you get your information, being whipped up into thinking that absolutely everything is a precursor to something else. Let's say, for instance, if you're asking how many bedrooms we use, we get an insight then into, the size of homes that people have. Then we can and how many people might live in those. Then we can sort of look towards maybe future planning in terms of what kind of houses we build. It's anonymous. I don't think, and I talk to an awful lot of people, that there's any possibility of government coming in to try and take ownership of your private property. I mean, obviously I know people fear that, but people fear an awful lot of things. But think about it. Another caller says, Ireland is such a small island with a small population. It's quite incomprehensible why a policy was never put in place or kept in place that we cannot feed ourselves or our livestock. We were a farming country, and now is the perfect time for everyone who has any type of land, garden, lawn, to start and try grow something to complement our weekly shop, salads, onions, herbs, etc. It's incredibly easy. Encourage growing in schools. Yeah, indeed. Listen, self-sufficiency, living off the land. We are an island nation, but we are also have to export because we probably could produce more stuff than we can consume. But that's a huge part of our economy. I get a sense that obviously, we hope as soon as is possible that the situation in Ukraine is resolved to stop the bloodshed, to stop the loss of life. But of course, then it has other impacts. It seems to be, I think, the direction of travel is that they're going to come up with our resolution before the end of March, start of May. That seems to be the direction of traffic there. And if that happens, maybe things might recover more quickly. There might be a change of leadership in Russia as well, who's to say, because their country is going to be in serious bother post this war. Right, we are going to be talking about actually abandoned properties in the Finn Valley area, in the Ballybofey Stranraer area, after these messages.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
From the smallest shrub to the largest tree in an awkward place, Donnelly Tree Services provide a complete range of tree surgery services. Whether you need to remove a dangerous tree or some nuisance branches, Donnelly Tree Services have the experience and expertise to carry out tree surgery to the highest of professional standards. Call 083 005 9939. Donnelly Tree Services, Donegal. No job is too small, no tree is too tall.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Are you thinking of selling your home? At Robinson Estate Agents, we currently have clients waiting to buy properties due to relocation to Donegal. Call for a free valuation and find out more about the benefits of using an estate agent with over 25 years experience. You can also avail of our free professional marketing campaign. Let Robinson Estate Agents maximise your sale value today. For more information, call our offices in Letterkenny and Dunfanaghy on 07491 20990. Robinson Estate Agents, working for you.
Glebe Gallery Open Art Competition is back after 2 years. Artists wishing to submit for this year's Glebe Gallery Open Art Competition should bring their artworks to the Glebe Gallery, Churchill, Letterkenny on the weekends of the 26th and 27th of March and the 2nd and 3rd of April between 12 and 5 p.m. Artists can submit up to 4 artworks and the entry fee is €4 per piece. The exhibition will open on Good Friday the 15th of April at 4 p.m. and all are welcome to attend. The exhibition will run until Sunday the 24th of April. Admission to the exhibition is free, pictures must be framed and ready to hang if selected. Further details are on the Glebe House and Gallery Facebook page.
Now is the time for action in Ballybofey and Stranraer to tackle the challenges left by a legacy of abandoned properties. That's according to local councillor Patrick McGowan, who joins us on the programme now. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, you say the scourge of dereliction and long-term vacancies not just confined to major cities in Ireland, it's also pervading in places like the Finn Valley. I've talked about this before. Even driving down to Knock there at the end of last week and driving back, you see little villages where the major businesses is no longer there, and you almost wonder, will those villages be there in any populated form in 10 years, say, for example. It's not that bad in Ballybofey and Stranraer yet. It's still a vibrant area, lots going on. But something needs to be done, I think. We can't keep talking about it having the highest level of vacant properties every year for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, well, actually, what happened there was that GeoDirect, they do GeoDirectory. They do a survey every year, but actually the survey is something like 80 towns out of about 500. Primarily, they look at the west coast, and unfortunately, Ballybofey has topped that now for about 3 years in a row, and that's on vacant commercial premises. Now,
there's a couple of big commercial properties that are vacant. I wonder if they were taken out.
Yeah,
what difference that might make.
I was using an example there. Say like at McLeay's Corner, Stranraer, there's quite a bit of property there. Now, some of it's occupied, some of it's very derelict and that. And there is an opportunity, because the one thing you can't do, you can't go in and just take out one empty building on the street, because first of all, you in order to say put residents into that, you have to fireproof the buildings on each side of you. You have to make them disabled access. You have to obviously put a small family unit in there. You need to have some backyards, place for bins, parking, and somewhere for children to play. So the best way to do it is to go out in multiple buildings, either renovate them or take down them buildings and put back up townhouses with backyards and accessibility and so on. And there is a number of places, both in Glenfinn Street, up at McLeay's Corner, and a few other, both Brown and Greenfield sites. There is an opportunity there. I have asked the council to provide it.
We're talking about different types of housing, though, of course.
Yeah.
That sounds very complicated. Do you have to take these buildings down, and do you have to provide backyards and what have you? I mean, a lot of people might find apartments attractive where you wouldn't have the expectation. There are greenfield areas. I mean, look at the beautiful park that is in the heart of Ballybofey and Stranraer, incredibly unique. I mean, there has to be a way to quickly convert at least some of these properties into, 2 or 3 apartments, get them onto the market, get people back in to the heart of the towns. When you start talking about demolition and making sure there's back gardens and swings, and I'm not being facetious in saying that, don't get me wrong, maybe on the sites that you talk of, but in town, let's convert them to apartments.
I can tell you, Greg, and most councillors tell you the same. See, the people that we would have primarily on the waiting list, most of them would not want to go into apartments. The majority of them, and that's from many years' experience, would like to have their own front door, their own yard, no matter how small it is, because this thing about sharing front doors and having bins and different things, communal spaces, is a problem. It's a problem for the local authorities about management. Yes, you can take out every other building, you can convert every other building, but if you're going to turn that into a residential property, you have to ensure the property on each side of you is fireproof and so on, and it's a lot easier to do. Most of the family units now are a lot smaller than they were years ago. Years ago, a lot of families lived above shops and towns and that, but it's become unbearable to be living in them conditions, whereas now the units are a lot smaller. Family is maybe two adults and one child, or one adult, one child. So they're not as 2 bedrooms. We within the county council on the waiting list, our biggest need by far, up to maybe 60-70%, is for 2-bedroom units. So yes, you can have some of these townhouses could be converted, but in order to give any sort of facilities for parking, for bins, etc., they need some ground, and it'll be easier to do it when you have a number. We do. The position in Ballybofey is there is quite a few empty derelict buildings beside one another, so it was easy to do the job right. It's in keeping with government strategy as well, and they tell us that money's there. There's been a raft of launches of new strategy last year and the beginning of this year. The money's supposed to be there, and we have called on the councils to set up a dedicated team within the county council now, a different team for Micah, a different team for housing applications and housing grants, a team then that will look at revitalising all of our towns from Letterkenny to Ballybofey to Lifford all of them, because we can't keep building on greenfield sites. There's also opportunity. There's vast grounds of not just derelict buildings, but vast backyards where you can have 2, 3, 4 houses, and the town centres we have all the services.
Yeah, how do you get people on board with that, though? Firstly, identifying who actually owns the property. Secondly, acquiring it from them or getting them on board or whatever. It comes down to, obviously people are entitled to own their property and do with what they want with it to a certain extent. But these things always get bogged down in the complication of red tape, bureaucracy, and the current framework within which we have to operate. How would you fix that problem, for example, in terms of, you talk about, let's say, for instance, there's 4 buildings on a row, 4 owners, 2 of them want to sit on their properties, the 2 on the outside are happy to work with the council. How do you solve the simplest first stage problem like that?
Yeah, and this has been discussed time and time again in the council. You're right. Some people have been left a property in the middle of the town. They don't have the wherewithal or the money to do it up, and it's not worth an awful lot of money. Nobody up until now wanted to buy it because they would actually been purchasing a liability, not on what's very heavy charges from the county council to do it up, planning fees, etc., and the fire authority. So now under this new scheme, the council has the power of CPO in these positions. The council also, it's quite easy to find out who owns these buildings. Within the last 2 weeks, I was able to find out the ownership of 2 buildings. One belonged to a lending agency, and they had sold it off to some group called Mars and somebody else. But we were able to find it out. We were able to contact them, and we were able to get some remedial action, because these buildings are not just unsightly, and they take away from the whole town centre. As you can see recently, you drive through Balbafay, you will see one building's been had to be cordoned off there in the last week, where reportedly slits is coming off the roof down onto the main national primary road. Like, some of these buildings have been like this for 10 and 20 years. There's no excuse. The money's there. There's a need there. Not everybody.
It's going to take a long time. Does there need to be, and I know there are town plans and all that kind of stuff, but does there need to be something more structured like I think there's a 2040 plan for Letterkenny, isn't there? Or is it 2040? I believe it is. Is that what the Ballabafay-Stranola area requires?
No. As you say, there's no need for a long plan. The government has put on their own plan, which identifies now that any of these vacant, derelict properties, unsightly properties in town centres, the council now can actively go after them, work with developers, work with the owners, or use their own power of CPO and buy out the buildings, either do them up, cost them, and make more suitable buildings and town centres. So it is a 1-1. There's no need for town plans, nothing like that at all. The government has brought this in, and we need to act on that now. And that's where you're asking our council to beef up their housing section that deals with this stuff and to get on with it. There's an open door there now. We need to be pushing through it.
All right, well, fingers crossed. All these things feel an awful long way away, but there's no reason why it can't happen if the will is there. Councillor McGowan, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Take care of yourself. That's Councillor Patrick McGowan. Is that something you would be in favour of, or do you think might ever happen? 086 60 25,000, your WhatsApps and your texts to that number.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Mortgages now available with a personalised service from your local and friendly credit union. Email mortgage@letterkennycu.ie.
For a great early season lawnmower deal, visit Gartley Sales and Hire, exclusive stockists of Stiga in the Northwest. Mowers, trimmers and hedge trimmers. Full trade-in service available at Gartley Sales and Hire, Gartley, Letterkenny. Call 9126276.
This March, we reflect how COVID has changed death and bereavement in Ireland. Together, we grieve. Irish Hospice Foundation Bereavement Support Line is open for all of us who are grieving. Free phone 1800 80 70 77 to talk to someone in confidence and for a shoulder to lean on.
Hi, Raymond Sweeney here. If your vacuum cleaner has seen better days, call into us at Ben Sweeney Euronics for a look at the new Samsung Turbo Cordless Stickback. This lightweight, easy-to-control vacuum cleaner picks up fine dust on carpets and on hard floors. With a 40-minute battery life and a massive 150 watts of suction power, it is now available for €299. Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre Dunlow.
Ben Sweeney Euronics. We deliver, we install, we care.
A new year, a new floor? At Floorit, we offer quality solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a vast choice of Parky herringbone flooring, all fitted and tailored to your needs. Call in today and see for yourself the fantastic offers available this January. Call Floorit today on 087 1617 008 or visit floorit.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday with the family? You can now fly to Barcelona 3 times weekly this summer with Ryanair and enjoy some of Europe's best family campsites. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, so obviously the weather is not too bad at the moment. I'm just actually trying to find an official line on it here. Now, let me tell you what the weather's going to be like. Tuesday, we'll see improving sunshine as the day goes on. It'll be mainly dry with just isolated showers during the late morning and early afternoon. Temperatures 15 to 17 degrees. Now, a drug which could revolutionise the treatment of obesity by reducing body weight by almost a fifth within a year has been given the green light for use in Ireland and other European countries. The drug, Wegovy, which has been approved by the European Medicines Agency, involves the patient getting a once-a-week jab to suppress their appetite. We're joined now by GP Dr. Mick Crotty, who's an obesity specialist at the My Best Weight Clinic. Good morning to you, Doctor. Thanks for joining us.
Not at all. Thanks very much for having me today.
Is there a precedent here? Do we use any other drugs to suppress appetite currently, or is this the first?
So at the moment, there's 3 different medications that are licensed for managing excess weight and obesity. One of those medications is a prequel to this new one that's available, one called liraglutide. So this kind of family of medications were developed for diabetes, but what we noticed was they're highly effective in managing weight. So essentially these are medications that mimic a hormone, a fullness hormone we have in our body. So they act on areas, subconscious areas of our brain that regulate hunger and fullness, so that we kind of turn down the volume on people's biological drive towards food, because we know that, people who are living with excess weight and obesity, it's not because of a lack of willpower, it's not because of motivation. This is a complex medical issue and predominantly centered in the brain. So these medications are kind of going to revolutionize management of weight long term, because they're effective, they're safe, and really, they mean that we're treating this like any other medical condition, whether it be blood pressure or cholesterol or asthma.
And would these injections be available to, I presume you don't want them, you want them to be given to people whose health is at risk, and obviously we're told we have to control our weight. But in other words, if someone fancies losing a few pounds, this is not what we're talking about here. This is this is for people who have a condition because of their weight, at least one condition.
Exactly. So these are not cosmetic, aesthetic medications. These are not to drop a few pounds before we go on holidays. They're not a new diet kind of pill. These are long-term medications for people who are living with excess weight, and when that weight is having a negative impact on their health. So whether it be their psychological health, their functional or mechanical health, or metabolic health. If somebody's weight is affecting their health long-term, then these are medications like blood pressure medications, like asthma medications, like depression medications. So, these are not intended to be kind of, the latest, greatest slimming tool. And really, we're not trying to, just shrink people to fit into society's ideas of beauty or aesthetics. These are medical treatments on prescription only for people who have a negative impact on their health from weight. And we have to bear in mind that not every person living in a bigger body is going to have, health impacts from their weight, and those people should just continue, living their life. But if somebody's health is impaired, then we can improve that. And really, it's not about losing weight; it's about gaining health.
Yeah, and obesity is, as it's been described locally here, as a disease. I think you're of the same view. It's almost unique. I can't think of anything else where there's almost 2 conversations going on. There's like the conversation you might have, whereby you see the implications of it on someone's health, and you would have no qualms, I'm sure, if someone sat in front of you saying, if you don't do this, the consequences could be that. But then there's another conversation where there's about body positivity, and you can't talk about weight. And I don't think there's another conditional disease like that.
Yeah, and it is. I totally agree with you. It's a very controversial area. We have kind of the intersection of kind of diet culture and this kind of everybody striving to be thinner, and the negative effect that can have on people psychologically and physically. This is not about diet culture. This is not about kind of losing weight, for aesthetics. This is treating people for whom weight is affecting their health. And really, I totally agree with you. When we're having a conversation about weight, we need to do it in a non-judgmental way. We need to broach it sensitively. We need to ask people's permission to talk about their weight, because it's a very sensitive topic. But if we do it in the right way, and if we approach it in the right way, it's very acceptable to people. And many people, the studies are showing that, the vast majority of people want their doctor to talk to them about weight. But we shouldn't be doing the old-fashioned blame and shame, telling them just to go away and eat less and move more. Telling somebody who's living with excess weight to eat less and move more long-term, or diet and exercise, is like telling somebody with depression to cheer up.
Yeah,
it's a
pull yourself together. You just don't do it. Yeah, but we've learned that, though. You see, as it relates to people's mental health, but it takes a long time to learn that conversation. Then. And I'm not going to digress from what we invited you on to talk about, but then if that is the case, if we don't want to judge people or speak to them like that, then do we need to stop, like magazines platforming, larger weighted people as if to say, no, it is normal, be who you are? Is that part then of a responsible conversation about someone's health, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So you mentioned the kind of healthy at any size or body positivity, and I'm all about kind of body positivity. So again, this comes back to me, the definition of the chronic disease of obesity is excess or abnormal fatty tissue.
But can I, in any circumstances, could I walk around 4 stone overweight with there not being health impacts?
Yeah, it's certainly possible, and certainly when they talk about this metabolically healthy obesity, I think long term, if somebody's living in a bigger body, they're statistically at risk of certain medical conditions, but it's not a foregone conclusion that they're going to suffer with all of those.
Nor is it, I presume, that someone who seems to be the perfect weight, that they are healthy.
Exactly. So I think there's a discussion here around separating health and weight. There are many people that I treat who are living in a bigger body, but they make very good food decisions. They're very physically active. They're very conscious of their health. They're not smoking. Whereas there are other people who are technically within a normal, whatever that means, kind of weight category, who have high blood pressure or diabetes or other medical issues. And it's very, very variable, depending on our physiology and our genetics. So really it comes back to me as this is for people whose health is impaired, and it's about improving their health long term. It's not about achieving a certain number on a scales or a certain size or a certain body mass index. This is about, we know that if somebody has an impairment of health, a 5 to 10% reduction in weight is very effective in improving their health long term.
And this drug in trials has shown an average of 17%, which is really quite significant. It's a weekly injection, but presumably it will have to be used in the real world before the likes of the HSE would consider making it available on a medical card or part of any reimbursement scheme. That would be a wee bit down the line. So who's going to have access to this? Where will it be administered?
Yeah, so the challenge of this is, like you said, it's not reimbursed. So it's people are paying for this out of pocket. The new medication that's just been approved, physically it's going to be probably 4 to 6 months before it's available in Irish pharmacies. It'll be on prescription only, and it will be kind of available then. We're using the exact same ingredient medication at lower doses for diabetes at the moment, safely and effectively. So many people are using this for diabetes and having a good improvement in their health. And as I said, there are other medications licensed for weight, but physically this one will be available probably in 4 to 6 months' time. And we really need to fight to have this reimbursed. We know the healthcare economics of this make ultimate sense. Why should we wait for people to have kind of complications and more severe issues before we intervene?
Well, if that's the case on that, why should someone have to have at least one weight-related complication? I mean, I presume pretty much most GPs, is the risk, say, for instance, of developing type 2 diabetes, is that one weight-related complication. So in other words, there's 1 million people in Ireland that are classed as obese. Theoretically, there could be an argument made for all of those to be receiving this drug.
Yeah, and I think, certainly in my practice, we know that 60% of the Irish population are living with overweight or obesity. So it's not feasible for everybody to be treated. If we look at kind of the approval for this medication, it's actually a body mass index greater than 30 or greater than 27 with a health-related medical issue. So, again, it's coming back to that. But if I'm seeing somebody, I'm not basing it on their weight or on their BMI, I'm basing it on their health. Is this person going to improve their health by managing weight? I suppose this has to kind of, be targeted towards those who would benefit most from the medication initially, and they're the ones with the most impairment of health. But really, I couldn't agree with you more. I think we should be, intervening sooner to treat people before, we know that our physiology and our biology defends a higher weight. So the higher our weight goes, that's where our brain feels is normal, and it will try to get us back to that weight. So why should we wait for people to be more severely affected before intervening? So I completely agree with you, but I think on the licensing for this, I suppose they have to have some kind of guidelines.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, obviously, we unfortunately, we still haven't got our head around the way, and I'm not talking necessarily about this specifically, but if we spend €10 in 2022, it avoids us spending €60 in 2027, but we've never really made that financial decision for some peculiar reason.
Yeah, and it's about investment in health, and you can look across the health service and see this in so many other places. But again, in addition to reimbursing the medication, there should be improved access towards bariatric surgery, which is another fantastic treatment. There should be, funding of specialist weight management services with nutritional support, psychological support, physiotherapy, occupational therapy. This isn't just a kind of one and done. We treat other chronic diseases with this multidisciplinary approach, a holistic looking at the person, not just a number on the scales. And we should be doing that kind of, for overweight and obesity.
Yeah, but that goes back then to how we talk about this conversation in the round, because you could ask 10 overweight people, do you believe you have a disease? And 5 might say yes and 5 might say no. And could make a legitimate argument in both. You couldn't with other diseases. But anyway, finally, just in a couple of minutes, Doctor, if you don't mind, in terms of how someone emotionally deals with this, then, you talk about the suppression. Does it trigger anything else, or does it all the mind and body work it out? If you understand what I'm saying, because go ahead.
So I suppose the underlying causes for why somebody might struggle with, genetics are a huge factor. The genetics regulate how our brain controls hunger, fullness, and the reward from food. Lots of things in our environment, whether it be sleep or stress or medications or trauma, lots of those things kind of exacerbate that further. So this goes to the biology. It treats the excess hunger, it treats the lack of fullness, it treats the hyperactive reward system in the brain, so that we're turning down the volume on the biological drive. So that somebody who is experiencing this, it is, if we turn down that biological drive, it's much easier for that person to make the choices they know they want to make. Essentially, we're giving them the neurology of somebody else who doesn't struggle with weight, because, they don't lack motivation or willpower. They're just constantly, more at risk. So, the way I kind of talk to patients is if somebody is genetically predisposed and biologically predisposed to take in 5% more food than their body needs at each meal, if we take that over the course of thousands of meals, that person is going to struggle with weight. So, the stigma and bias in society, this is not that people are eating rubbish and not exercising. This is a case that, in the environment we live in, this is high risk.
Very fine. In the first case, anyone using this will have to pay for it. Isn't that how
at the moment it's not reimbursed, so they'll have to pay out of pocket, and it is expensive.
And very finally, when I stopped smoking, I put on 5 stone. I'm so depressed. Last night alone, thinking on it all night. No sleep till 6 a.m. I also have lupus. Can hardly walk with weight. That person would qualify for this. For this, as much as we can say over a Zoom call. But yeah, that's the type of.
In general, like we said, if there's a psychological impairment, if their function and day-to-day, mechanical health is impaired, or if they've got a metabolic impairment, then absolutely
that person would probably hit at least two. Okay, listen, that's very informative. Thanks for so much of your time this morning, by the way. Take care of yourself. That's Dr. Mick Crotty there. Back after the news at 10.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Is your water safe to drink? If your water tastes unpleasant or has a foul smell, it may be a sign that something is in your water. Brothers Tech Donegal provide a complete private well water treatment service using the best water treatment equipment to meet your needs. Or maybe you drilled a new well and the water isn't satisfactory. At Brothers Tech, their expert team will also service existing problematic systems. If you're concerned about the quality of your water, call Brothers Tech on 087 638 7057.
Wet n Wild is your one-stop shop for water sports, stocking all the leading brands of wetsuits, bodyboards, kayaks, paddleboards, scuba, swimwear, dry robes, tow floats, UV protection, life jackets, sunglasses, buoyancy aids, picnic sets and cool boxes. So whether you're on, in or under the water this summer, Wet n Wild can keep you safe and looking good.
Are you building, rebuilding or simply improving your home? Come along to Donegal's premier gathering of home building professionals in the Northwest. Donegal New Build and Rebuild 2022 will take place in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Admission is free to the 3-day event from April the 1st to April the 3rd. You'd be an April Fool to miss it.
This ad is sponsored by Efficient Renewables.
For a huge selection of furniture, all at one showroom, pull into Grow Furnishings in Letterkenny. Sofas, beds, wardrobes, tables and chairs. Also a range of carpet, vinyl, rugs and laminated flooring. If it's time for a change, it's time for a visit to Grove Furnishings. Grove deliver throughout Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. Be inspired at Grove Furnishings, Kiltoy Road, Letterkenny.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. There are more calls for protection for emergency services personnel after a paramedic was assaulted in Letterkenny yesterday morning. The incident happened in the Kinnear Lane area at approximately 9 o'clock. Gardaí say one man was brought to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment for what were described as non-life-threatening injuries. A man in his 20s was arrested. He has since been released pending court summonses. Well, Councillor Jerry McMonagle, who chairs the HSC West Regional Forum, says attacks on emergency services personnel are increasing across the board, and he says there is a need for more deterrence.
Our emergency service personnel need to be protected. I've been talking to people from yesterday since this news broke, and that was the thing that people were saying. They'll get a slap in the wrist when they go to court. Things need to be sorted out. Needs to be more stringent sentencing. This is people who are going about the business on a daily basis, protecting and many times saving our lives, and then they're being subjected to these attacks. And as you said, they're on the rise. Since 2018, and then they rose again in 2019, and been further increases in them years since. And it has to be stopped. So there needs to be an adequate and sufficient deterrent.
And that was Councillor Jerry McMonagle speaking to Greg on the 9 till noon show a short time ago. There are calls for more protection for emergency services. We've just heard that piece from Councillor Jerry McMonagle. US President Joe Biden says there are clear signs that Russia is considering the use of chemical weapons in Ukraine. The White House is also warning Vladimir Putin may order cyber attacks in response to the tough sanctions being imposed on the Kremlin. Ukraine's president says his country's forces have managed to slow Russian advances on a number of cities. Vladimir Zelensky said he would consider a referendum on non-membership of NATO, but said that would require a Russian ceasefire. Joe Biden says Russia's tactics could become increasingly severe.
He's asserting that we, America, have biological as well as chemical weapons in Europe. Simply not true. They're also suggesting that Ukraine has biological and chemical weapons in Ukraine. That's a clear sign he's considering using both of those. He's already used chemical weapons in the past, and we should be careful what's about to come.
A growing reluctance to test for COVID-19 is contributing to rising infection rates, according to a rural GP. Dr. Ilona Duffy says 60% of patients at her clinic say they've had COVID in the past few weeks. Official daily figures have remained stagnant over the period at between 12 and 14,000, and that, according to the Monaghan GP, suggests that there is under-reporting of positive antigen tests. Dr. Duffy says also many people aren't testing despite having symptoms.
People are reluctant to test themselves, or perhaps having mild symptoms and trying to explain it away as being a head cold. But the reality of it is, while they may not feel unwell, they may have the virus and may be spreading it. So I think that's really still an important message, that if you have any symptoms that are potentially COVID, presume you've COVID. I think people should be testing repeatedly while they have symptoms, and I don't think it should be on an every second day basis. I think it should be on a daily basis.
Postmasters are warning they could stage industrial action over their mounting frustration with An Post and the government. They're holding an emergency meeting next Monday to consider balloting for industrial action. They're expressing concern over a lack of investment in the postal service and also planned changes to postal order and foreign exchange services, which they say would mean extra work for them without any extra pay. Ned O'Hara is General Secretary of the Irish Postmasters Union.
Morale is very low. We've worked hard through COVID. As I said, we are providing new services. We do 85% of all our post office transactions across counters. We don't know. We want to meet the members, hear their views. We want to see that there is frustration. We don't want to do industrial action.
Today we'll see sunshine improve as the day goes on. It'll be mainly dry with just some isolated showers in the late morning and early afternoon. Highest temperatures today 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. Moderate to fresh southeasterly winds will ease later. Mainly dry with clear spells and mist patches tonight. Lowest temperatures 3 to 4 degrees Celsius, dipping close to freezing in some areas inland with a touch of grass frost possible. Light southeasterly breezes will continue overnight. Tomorrow Wednesday will be mainly dry and sunny with highest temperatures of 13 to 17 degrees Celsius in mostly light southeasterly breezes. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, the 22nd of March. The death has taken place in Trinity Court, Newton Cunningham, of James Doran, formerly of Carrigan's. James's remains are reposing at Trinity Court with viewing from 12 noon today. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. Funeral from there on Thursday morning, arriving at St. Bathan's Church, St. Johnson, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Bridget McBride, née Coyle, Cheerhummon, Milford. Her remains will repose at her home from 7 o'clock this evening. Funeral Mass on Thursday in St. Columba's Church, Massmount, at a time to be confirmed, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Rosary tonight and tomorrow at 9 p.m. Funeral Mass and Rosary can be viewed on the St Mary's Fanavolti and St Columba's Massmount Facebook page. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to the Irish Motor Neuron Disease Association or ICU, Letterkenny University Hospital. Care of Patrick Sweeney, Funeral Directors. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Jeannie Harkins, née Doherty, Hella, Caro Moore, Glentoher, and later of Clydebank, Glasgow. Funeral will take place on Thursday morning at 10 o'clock in St Stephen's Parish Church, Clydebank. The death has taken place of Catherine Logue, née Ivers, Greenbank, Quigley's Point. Her remains are reposing at Murphy's Funeral Home, Burnfoot, with viewing this afternoon from 3 o'clock until 5:30. Removal then to Sacred Heart Church, Muff, arriving at 6 to repose overnight. Requiem Mass tomorrow morning at 11, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Pat Hamilton, late of 9 New Street, Clady, reposing at Quigley's Funeral Home on Wednesday afternoon from 4:30, with removal at 5:30 to St Columba's Church, Dunnyloop. Requiem Mass on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock, interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Seamus McLaughlin, late of 22 Benview Estate, Derry, formerly of Blackmore, Muff. His remains are reposing at his late residence, with funeral from there this morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Ishkaheen, followed by interment in the City Cemetery, Derry. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to Foyle Search and Rescue. Care of McLaughlin Funeral Directors, Dungiven. The death has taken place of Kathleen K. Kemp, née McLaughlin, 5 Seacrest Shore Road, Buncrana. Her remains are reposing at McLaughlin's Funeral Home, Buncrana, with viewing from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. today and tomorrow. Funeral from there on Thursday morning at 9:20, going to St Mary's Oratory for 10 o'clock Requiem Mass. Burial afterwards in Cockhill Cemetery. The death has occurred of Derek Gallagher, Meanmore and Key Road, Dunlow. His remains are reposing at Midlands Funeral Home with viewing this afternoon from 3 to 5:30, followed by removal to St Columba's Church Acres for 6 o'clock, where he'll repose overnight. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11, with interment afterwards in Belcrich Cemetery. And the death has taken place of Eddie Herity, formerly of Knocknafarr, Dunfanaghy. His remains will arrive in St Michael's Church, Creasla, this evening at approximately 6 o'clock to repose overnight. Funeral Mass there tomorrow morning at 11, followed by burial in Doe Cemetery. Mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Oh my God, lads, an award! I'm speechless. Well, this really goes to the small businesses we work with. Like Jerry, the farmer, for instance. He's great. Last week he had 4 cows calving the same night. And then there's Darren, the plumber, gas man. Once he dropped his phone into the toilet he was fixing while he was talking to me. Oh, and Joan. Joan's an electrician.
Experts in their business deserve award-winning customer care from experts who care. If you're a small business, switch to 3 Business. Overall winner of the Best Customer Experience in Large Contact Centre at the Customer Contact Management Association Awards 2021. Visit us in store or at 3.ie/business. 3 Business, where connections come to life.
OK, Garter Sergeant Ewan Walsh will be joining us shortly with the latest instalment of the Community Garter information item, so stay tuned for that. Some of your comments coming in here. In relation to Irish neutrality, the Irish Constitution strongly affirms the state's devotion to peace and friendly cooperation, international justice and morality. It does not mention neutrality. Indeed, Article 28.3.1 envisages that the state could declare war with the assent of Dáil Éireann. Indeed, and that's what we were discussing yesterday to Joe Kelly, like it's aspirational rather than constitutional. Hi Greg, I'm listening to the doctor. I'm type 1 diabetic, was put on Ozempic but finding it hard to lose weight. What's the name of the drug? I had it in front of me, it's just not here at the moment, but this is a much higher dose and it's been studied widely and has been found to be very effective. Wegovy, I believe is the pronunciation, or Wegovy. It's Wegovy. A caller says you've got to give us the name of the new drug for obesity. What is it called, please? That comes in from Bridget. There's your answer, Bridget. But as I say, it's just not available just yet, as far as I'm aware. But those in the business of helping those who are overweight and have medical complications because of it think this is great. So the Fine Gael Fianna Fáil councils have overseen the desolation of Twin Towns for decades, whilst bringing swimming pools, schools, base, Bala, etc. No balanced approach, though. Time for council made up of business, state and community before buildings fall down. Another, it really makes my blood boil that the people responsible for assaults against the likes of ambulance staff, Gardaí, etc. Tend to be released pending a file to the DPP. Surely a crime like this should see immediate punishment, and no doubt we'll be paying, we will be paying free legal aid into the future for these kinds of crimes. Greg, Dr. Joe Kelly is right. It is past time for Ireland to show some leadership in the interest of peace in the Ukraine, but leadership requires courage, and there is no such thing as courage in Dublin. Very tragically, Ireland has returned to being a Connolly this time round, a Connolly of Brussels, and Ireland has stopped being an independent sovereign nation. Look, I was saying at the time when people are driving lorries into the gates of the Russian embassy, when the councillors are discussing changing the name of a street on which the embassy sits on. I was trying to make the point when all this stuff was happening that we obviously can condemn it. There's no sides to take in this one. You can't really say, Vladimir, this, that and that. But we should try and take a position in the international community where we can phone a head of government can phone Putin and reason with him, or try and broker or use what was achieved in Northern Ireland to our advantage, rather than the approach we seem to be taking, having a conversation about armies and European armies and smashing in gates and changing the names of streets. As I say, I understand why people do that, but I just think that there's an opportunity lost, that we would be in a good position to try and broker some kind of settlement, and it would also improve our standing greatly on the international stage. But maybe I wasn't making the points at that time as clearly as I had intended, but that's what I was trying to say, and I just think we could and we should. I'm waiting bariatric surgery and was offered a different type of injection similar to this, but it isn't available on the medical card. Is this one available on the medical card? If so, I will be contacting my consultant in Galway. At the moment, it's not available on the medical card, and it's not available with the refund scheme. That will come down the line, is the impression I'm being given here. Is the situation in Ballabafay-Stranola not down to a few individuals owning lots of property and leaving them empty? I don't know what the story is, but whatever it is, you heard from the councillor there. He believes that if the property is derelict or not in use, that they can CPO it. A government have written a clause about being able to take a property for the greater good. I don't trust the upcoming referendum at all. Agenda 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy, stated in the World Economic Forum website. That's, I don't know where you're getting your information, but that's simply just not the case. Do you not remember everyone was put up to high dough because people said there was legislation that means people could be rounded up and onto an army barracks and contained there, and it was all linked to COVID and all that type of stuff. People are interpreting things that are in the Constitution that's never going to happen. Can you imagine if they tried to do that here or in any other country? Should be the same punishment for all assaults. It's not just as bad if, say, a bin man is assaulted while working, or anyone else, whether they're working or not. Equal punishment for equal crime. Well, if the reason it's different, the way I think it's different, and the reason I said that, these people are out to save lives, okay? Now, if you assault someone and it means that they cannot provide the care that they were sent to do, that is a greater crime than someone assaulting me. If a guard obviously is out in the front line and they're assaulted and taken out of their policekeeping duties, I think that's worse than assault on me. If firefighters, in the course of their duties as they try and save people or respond to an emergency, if their vehicle is assaulted or damaged, I think that's worse than it happening to me. But I take your point, and maybe I'm not just quite as aspirational as you are, but maybe that's the way we need to be. Greg, why don't Ireland introduce a bill, as in England, assault on emergency workers, which allows for tougher sentences on culprits? I know we interviewed someone, I'm not sure if it was a senator or whom it was, I just can't get their name from within my brain at the moment, who was calling specifically, I think, for tougher sanctions for those who assault the likes of doctors and nurses and EDs, and presumably that would extend out then to ambulance workers. Good luck if you're playing the bingo today. Stay tuned, because the Garter information item is on its way in just about 2 minutes.
It's time for Ncbi Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 22nd of March. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S17. It's game number 12. The numbers are 35, 41, 72, 81, 76, 31, 66, 63, 62, and finally 43. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Ncbi Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Win with low prices from SuperValu, with a great range in-store and online, like SuperValu chilled Valencia orange juice, 1 litre, only €2. Epic! SuperValu frozen vegetable stir-fry mix, 750 gram, only $1.19. Smashed it! And SuperValu chocolate chip cookies, only 99¢. Winning! Win with low prices that compete with anyone. Win with SuperValu.
Say thank you this Mother's Day with a special gift from Pandora. When you spend €109 or more, we'll treat you to a free bracelet from a selection. But hurry, this offer won't be around for long. Ends Sunday the 27th of March while stocks last. Available in participating stores. Terms and exclusions apply.
At Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70. Choo-choo! Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring up to 70% off sale is now on. Everything's reduced. All tiles, all bathware, all wood flooring. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring, 70% off sale is leaving the station. Sale extended till Sunday. Choo-choo!
Central Auto Parts are now stocking Sunny, a water-based paint offering all up-to-date colours for all vehicles, and Celimix Commercial, the perfect paint for diggers, plant and machinery. Buy it today at Central Auto Parts, Portslink Business Park, Letterkenny. Find us on Facebook or call us on 074 9127 491.
The Community Garter information is brought to you in association with Northwest Alarm Systems, incorporating Third Eye Fire and Safety. Is now your one-stop shop for security, fire alarm systems and fire training. Visit our website for more or call 074 97 21687.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show, and we welcome into studio now Garter Sergeant Ewan Walsh as part of our Garter Community Information slot. Good morning to you, Ewan. How are you keeping?
Good, Greg. How's yourself?
I'm good. I saw a few pictures of you and everybody else at the Letterkenny St. Patrick's Day Parade. It seemed to be a brilliant event, organised at short notice, but you wouldn't know.
Well, it was a good bit of work done with the chamber and ourselves, I suppose, and the day went well, the weather was good, everybody was in good humour, and everybody enjoyed themselves, so it went down well.
Good stuff. Okay. Right, okay, let's get into it now, because we have some information upcoming, but there are appeals now for any of you out there that may be able to help solve these crimes or instances, or assist in finding out information. There's a mixture. We'll start actually with information required as it relates to a road traffic collision in Buncrana.
Yes, Greg, this is a road traffic collision which occurred last Wednesday, the 16th of March, the eve of St. Patrick's Day, at Parkmore, Buncrana at approximately 8 p.m. The collision occurred between a car and a pedestrian. The pedestrian suffered some injuries, unfortunately none of which are believed to be life-threatening. The car involved was a white Kia and was travelling from the direction of the Causeway Road towards Versus Lane at the time of the collision. So we are appealing for anybody who may have witnessed the collision or any information in the matter, and anybody who may have travelled in the area at the time who may have had dash cam, to make the footage available, and again witnesses to contact the Gardaí at Buncrana 07493 20540.
All right. Now, there was a burglary in the Dunlow area over the course of either the 17th or 18th.
Yes, this is a burglary that occurred on St. Patrick's night, Thursday the 17th, between 9 p.m. and Friday morning the 18th at 6 a.m, so that would have been sometime during St. Patrick's night. It occurred in the area of Tubberkeen, Dunlow. Tubberkeen is located between Mahery and Dunlow, and a vacant building at the location was entered, and substantial damage was caused to light switches, furniture and windows broken. Nothing's believed to have been stolen at this stage, but again substantial damage done. So that's a burglary in the townland of Tubberkeen, Dunlow, and again we're appealing for residents to contact the Gardaí in Milford, or if observed any suspicious activity in the area. Again, Milford can be contacted at 07491 53060. That's 53060.
Now, your colleagues in Ballyshannon are investigating a burglary too.
Yes, this is a burglary that occurred in a holiday home at St. Bridget's Terrace in Bundoran between last Tuesday, March the 15th, and Paddy's morning, March the 17th. The owner of the property arrived probably for the weekend to find that the side door of the holiday home had been damaged and entry had been gained. Some of money had been stolen from the property, Greg, and again, some damage done. So we're appealing to residents in the area to contact the Gardaí in Ballyshannon if they have seen or heard anything that might assist with the inquiries there. That's Ballyshannon 071 98 53 530.
All right. Now, is there anything that we need to be doing that we're not doing? And this is not as it relates to the victims of these crimes, but, you know, vacant properties, holiday homes. I mean, obviously, alarms and what have you would be useful.
Yes, alarms are a good tool preventing crime. And again, if you're aware for a weekend, again, the usual story, you know, not leaving your bin out, not posting up on social media where you are in this thing.
And it's tough not to. But,
it is, yes. Yeah. And again, maybe somebody leaving a light on, have somebody calling, giving a key to your neighbour, have somebody, maybe a bit of activity around your house to deter these criminals, you know.
Yeah, because there are people, and it's hard to believe, but there are people that will befriend others, or there's a network of people who will use information like there could be people attending a funeral, or it could be people, as you mentioned, away on holidays, and that information is circulated and used to target people. I'm not saying it's happening widespread. I don't want to worry people, but you don't know everybody on your friends list.
No, and then and unfortunately, the person, the burglar or the criminal, might not be too far from you and might be known to you. And if your Facebook page or whatever, your social media page is open to the public, they can type in your name, see where you are and what you're doing.
And when you'll be back. All right, now we are going to talk about an assault in Raphoe.
Yes, this is an assault which occurred on St Patrick's Night last the 17th of March between 11:15pm and 11:45pm. A young male was assaulted at location and received medical treatment for the injuries sustained. And again, fortunately, none of the injuries are life-threatening. So that's a young male assaulted on the McBride Street area of Raphoe on St Patrick's Night. We appeal to anybody who was in the area around the time and who witnessed the assault or may have information to contact the Gardaí, Letterkenny, 07491 67100. And again, anybody who travelled in the McBride Street over that time period and who has dashcam to make the footage available to Gardaí.
All right, and another assault this time in Letterkenny.
Yes, this is an assault which occurred on St Patrick's morning on the Wednesday night, Thursday morning in the Beechwood Park area of Letterkenny between 3am and 10am. That had been on the Wednesday night. A young female had walked up the high road from the direction of town, and Greg, she had walked into Beechwood Park Estate and where she was the victim of an unprovoked assault by a male who was unknown to her. She received some injuries, but fortunately they're not of a light-threatening nature. We have a good description of the male involved, who was on his own. He's described as being 5'7" to 5'8" tall, a shaved head and a beard, and he wore a very distinctive red top, and his mid to late 20s or early 30s. So again, 5'7", 5'8", a shaved head and a beard, and wore a red what looks like a kind of a ghillie jacket that are very common at the minute, so quite distinctive jacket. So we're appealing to residents in the area. Our taxi drivers have been around the Beechwood Park High Road area at the time with dashcam to make themselves available to Gardaí, Letterkenny, 07491 67100.
And people will be listening and might want to know, and maybe you don't know, or maybe you don't want to really reveal it for operational purposes. What was the nature of the assault? Was she beaten up, or was there an alternative?
No, it's physical assault, physical injuries, and the assailant, the injured party, has a good description of the assailant and is satisfied that he's unknown to her.
Okay.
So it's totally unprovoked.
And we need to, of course, that we need to get to the bottom of that one for sure. Okay, now there's a few appeals in here now, isn't there?
Yes, this is a number of road traffic related matters, Greg, that happened on the 7th of March. Passed in relation to dangerous driving of a white BMW car, a partial registration number CV15. So I think that would be fairly distinct if anybody had seen it. The dangerous driving incident started in the Ballyrain area of Letterkenny and right down to Lifford between 11:45pm on Sunday the 6th of March into the morning of Monday the 7th of March. So if anybody was travelling on the road between Letterkenny and Lifford and a dashcam footage, we'd appreciate it to make the footage available to Gardaí. And again, 07491 67100. That's a white BMW partial reg CV15, or indeed if anybody had saw the car at another location, we might be able to trace the owner and have him or her interviewed in relation to the matter.
Right, okay. Now, Bike Safe, a new initiative, not a new initiative, but it is an initiative. Tell us about it.
Yes, this Bike Safe initiative, Greg, it'll continue to provide it by the Roads Policing Division, Dublin Castle, during this year, 2022. Its initiative has been run by Garter Síochána, offering Bike Safe workshop and on-the-road assessment ride accompanied by advanced Garda motorcyclists. Now, these are the highly skilled motorcyclists that you see in the city. You often see them there at parades or matches or VIP escorts, and they're on the top of their game there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's giving you a chance to go out on the road with them to increase your skills on motorcycling, make you more aware of what's happening on the road.
Any little habits that you've...
Yes, and it's available to all motorcyclists holding a full motorbike licence, and applications can be made through the Garda website, and the link to the apply is also available on our own Donegal Garda Síochána Donegal Facebook page. And again, look at you see now the evenings are getting longer and the days are getting brighter, and you'll see more motorcycles.
People are dusting them off for no less than maybe the boats in a month or two.
Yes, and unfortunately 10 motorcyclists have died on our roads this year. That's 1 in every 4 road deaths, Greg, And
it's an over-representation.
Yes, it is, yes. So, and when you're very vulnerable on your motorbike, and this initiative will increase your skills and make you more aware of the road and everything around you.
Okay, now another reminder for people to get their nominations in for the Donegal Garda Youth Awards for 2022.
Yes, the Youth Awards is on it. Nominations on at the minute, and the closing date for nominations is 5 p.m. next Monday, the 28th of March. So those awards celebrate outstanding young people between the age of 13 and 21 from throughout our county who have made a difference to the community that they're living or working in. And again, the link to download the form is available on the Garda Síochána Facebook page, and nomination forms are available for download on the Garda Síochána website or the Donegal County Council website or from any Garda station.
Yeah, okay. Now, a big game coming up for Donegal versus Armagh on Sunday, March the 27th. It's going to be Super Sunday, really, for Division 1. But we're here to talk about traffic management rather
it's a Super Sunday
rather than permutations.
Yeah, we're not actually going that well at the minute. So a big game on Sunday in O'Donnell Park, Letterkenny, throw in 1:45 p.m. There are a lot of permutations for a lot of teams. I think we can actually... 5 teams are in the mix for relegation, so we're expecting a big crowd. Armagh have something to play for.
And we play them again in the championship,
yes, 4 weeks later,
a lot of people want to see.
So we're just making people aware to the forecast is good, arrive in time, and I suppose look at when we go to Crow Park or Clonus or Breffdene and these places, we're prepared to park up and walk. But sometimes in our own county, we tend to.
I don't want to be a party pooper, but I know after these matches, I'll get the photos sent to me, or we'll get the phone calls of cars up on footpaths. People unable to move buggies around or wheelchairs, maybe people visually impaired. There will be people that will disregard what you're about to say. Well, and then there will be people that feel that maybe the guards need to be a bit tougher on this.
Well, it's a happy medium, We will have guardian duty at the venue. And just to make people aware, there's no parking at the ground or no parking in the immediate vicinity of the ground. As you say, Ballymacool, where the park is a residential area, and we have loads of people out walking buggies into town, going to the Aura or whatever. We will have our cones out, we will have our guards on duty, and just make people aware to park in the numerous car parks in the town, walk to the ground, or avail of the free shuttle bus service. There will be a partial road closure at the Kernan shop, which is known as Black's Corner there. So people going to the match will not be permitted to drive past the barrier on the road. There will be access for residents or people going to the Aura or availing of the other amenities out there. But we're asking people going to the game, arrive in time, use the car parks in town and walk to and from the ground.
But you'll get access for local residents, or if you go into the Aura, you said that, I think, which is quite important. Just think on others.
That's it. It's not a hard thing to do, Asking.
Okay, Ewan, thank you very much indeed. I appreciate that as always.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's our pleasure. That's Garda Sergeant Ewan Walsh. That was the Community Garda information for Tuesday, March 22nd. It'll be back for you again next Tuesday, and if you missed anything, it'll be available on our Facebook pages and indeed on the Garda Síochána Donegal Facebook page a little later on this afternoon.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Darren Brown, the multi-award-winning master of mind control and psychological illusion, is coming to Derry with his brand new live show, Showman, guaranteed to blow your mind. From the 26th of April for 1 week only. Don't miss Darren Brown, live at the Millennium Forum. Book now at millenniumforum.co.uk.
Charles Bonner & Sons Ballybuffet are the leading suppliers of solid fuel and wood pellet stoves and ranges, bringing warmth and comfort to homes in Donegal and beyond for nearly 50 years. So visit our showrooms in Ballybuffet or call us on 074 9131 700 or online at thestovestore.ie for more details.
Century Complex is the perfect family day out. Kids will love exploring Century Play. There's lots of tasty options available at Backstage Bar and Grill. And at Century Cinemas, we're showing entertaining kids movies, rom-coms, actions, adventure movies, dramas and more. Call us on 074 9121 or visit centurycinemas.ie. Are you thinking seriously about changing or upgrading your car? If so, make your next call to iMotors and view our full range of Nissan and Kia. We are confident we have your next car. With fantastic offers on all new vehicles, iMotors in Letterkenny and Malin are here to help you drive away in your new 2022. For more information or to book a test drive, call our sales team today on 07491 34567 or visit imotors.ie.
You might think you know Ireland's ancient East, but maybe it's time for a closer look. Uncover stories bold and brave where vibrant city nights follow action-packed days. Set course for countless adventures at Carlingford Adventure Centre or roam wild in wonder in the Glen of Aherlow and become captivated by the culture and craft of Kilkenny's cobbled streets. Ireland's ancient East, yours to explore. Keep discovering at discoverireland.ie.
Okay, happy birthday to Kieran Boner in Convoy. Lots of love from Mum and Dad, Brendan and Holly. Hi Greg, could you please wish our Uncle Pat Duffy in Bridgend a very happy 90th birthday today from all his many nieces and nephews and wider family circle, friends and neighbours. Have a great day. And a birthday request for our daughter Aoife Murphy Tullygay on her 18th birthday from Mum, Dad and brother Podrick. Have a fabulous day, Aoife.
I hear the drums echoing tonight.
Okay, that is Africa there from Toto. A caller says, just an idea of what weekly life is like now. I earn €432 a week, give or take. The cost for coal is €50 a week. Diesel, €60 a week. Rent, €180 a week. Tax, around $15 a week. Insurance, $15 a week. Repayment on a small loan for Christmas, €22 a week. Shopping is around €80 on a good week, so every penny goes away. I know the loan is making a difference, but times are really tight, and heat has been known to run out before 4 weeks as I buy by the ton, and now it's gone up. So thankfully good weather, and I hope my budget holds out. I don't do lunches, or I don't go out for nights out or anything else. This is the world I live in. I'm ashamed by the way I live and what I earn. That is one person's reality there. Every shilling they earn out the door with no space for themselves. We're going to continue talking about the cost of living. Derek joins us now. Hiya, Derek. Good morning to you.
Hello, Greg. Good morning to you too.
Right, you've been looking at the price of oil.
Yeah, you mentioned there yesterday there, and one of the times that you were talking there about the price at the oil and so on, and that has been on the plan and it just didn't go up. The price of oil didn't go up since the invasion of Ukraine.
But what I was saying, there was movement in the market that was affecting the price of it prior to obviously the dramatic upward increase. Is what I was getting at, Derek.
But back in 2008, oil had reached $147 a barrel. I think it was maybe July or something.
Yep.
Price of I'll just work because I'm a farmer and I'll work on the price of tractor diesel. Tractor diesel had just about €1,000 for the 1,000 litres. €1,000 for 1,000 litres. Now that was the highest that there's ever been up to recently. Now, back in the 8th of March there, it had €1,700. Now, the price of oil today is floating on around $100. It had reached 120 or something there maybe a week ago. But I honestly think there's somebody profiteering out of that there, because it is so expensive now, either for kerosene, car diesel or tractor diesel. It has come back now on around €1,300 to €1,350 for 1,000 litres. That's $1.35 or whatever per litre if you want to break it down. But back then the crude oil was $147, but it only reached €1,000 or £1 a litre or €1 a litre. You know, why is it so expensive now? And you take everything across the board, steel, timber, everything that you go to buy now, even down to a tube of glue that you're buying, the hardware, whatever, everything is last, 6 months. They blamed it on the supply because the COVID had interrupted the supply of stuff, and there were so many people off work and so many factories was closed and all that sort of stuff, you know. And now suddenly the COVID is rarely mentioned. The numbers is fairly high. Now it's all to do with the war. But the oil that's been pumped today or yesterday or last week doesn't reach the forecourts of the filling stations, I would think now, and I'll stand to be corrected, for a mighty long time. So how come when the price of crude oil goes up a little bit, the price in the forecourts of the filling stations is up the next day or 2 days later or 4 days later or whatever? Why? And then when it falls, it reached $120 there. Now it's back down to 100. But the price of oil hasn't really come back in the forecourts. It come back because the government took 20% off, or 20 cents, or whatever way you want to call it.
Yeah, I think we have to be careful though in comparing now to 2008, because it very. For instance, the in 2008, I was reading up on this a little bit. In 2008, it was a much shorter time that the prices went up compared to what we're experiencing now. Do you know what I mean? From my reading, 2008 was a peak, and that peak sort of washed through before it would have had an impact on petrol pump prices, if that makes sense. Plus the fact demand dropped as well because we were in a recession at that time. Even though the price of oil went up dramatically, the demand for it also fell. So therefore, there was plenty of it's a lack of supply that's driving up where we're at now. It's not simply the raw price of the fuel, if that makes sense.
Right. But the demand for the oil has dropped because of the COVID as well, Greg.
But we're out of that now, though.
The planes hasn't been flying. There have been less trucks on the road. It was very noticeable back there 12 months ago. The amount of traffic that was on the road was much, much less.
Mm-hmm. But they turn the supply off and on to suit themselves. But Derek, I mean, the bottom line is this, though. The oil companies are continuing to make equal profits, the same profits as they did, record profits. Obviously the government's take on tax, the government's take on oil, on petrol and diesel, I'm not sure if it's ever been higher, and I don't think the forecourts are losing money. We're the only group of individuals, it seems, that are taking any hit on the current situation, us, the consumer, at the bottom of the food chain.
Yeah. But the higher the oil prices goes, the government gets more.
Yep. It took me a while to work that out, but that's the facts.
No, and as people that are running businesses or running cars to go to work and so on and so forth, it is just awfully expensive for what you get now. For a drum of kerosene, sure, it's 20 odd quid. Coal is rising €7 a bag or something now.
Yeah, but some of that is the government levy on coal, which seems unbelievable at this moment.
But even in the north too, it's rising as well.
Yeah.
Other supplier demand, but I know probably the prices has little to do. Maybe if you look at the pictures on the television of the cities in Ukraine that has been bombed and the amount of people that has lost their lives and things, I suppose talking about the money end of the thing is
I know, and that is the difficult space. But we have to. We also it's awful what's happening in Ukraine, but there are families also experiencing an awful situation here in a different way, and you can say, but your house hasn't been flattened. But there are people who can't afford to eat or who can't afford to run a car anymore. So we can't. We have to have a space where people can talk about how it's affecting them, but still recognizing that there are people in the rest of the world that maybe are suffering worse, Derek. And I think you're very fair in what you're saying, but we have to be able to talk about its impact on us as well.
But also, it's going to put an awful lot of pressure on people here in Ireland and probably other countries too, England or whatever else, that can't make ends meet. And they may not think that life might be worth a living.
Well, God forbid, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's hard to say. But
this is where governments now need to govern, right? Because I'm all shopped around out, Derek. I don't know about you, but I've shopped around. I think I'm saving as much as I can on my petrol, my electricity, and other sort of discretionary spends. I don't think there's an awful lot more I can trim back. And there's people much worse off than I am, and there's an awful lot of people better off than I am as well. But now is the time where the government has to govern and say, right, we are in a unique set of circumstances. Here is our plan to protect the most vulnerable. I don't think them saying, well, we can't insulate everyone from all the impacts of a war is good enough. They need targeted help for those that need it, and it should not be beyond them to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the pressure on people is getting to be, and the way that things is looking, it's going to be there for the rest of this year. The looks of things that the war is not going to settle down, and the price of stuff. I think I heard there a couple of days ago the biggest steel factory in Europe was bombed there. So if the other factories in the world can take up the slack, maybe they can. But
you see, the problem we have too is for them to oust Putin. The plan is going to be to stop buying any oil or gas from Russia, anything out of Russia. So even if the war stops, and I would hope it in the next couple of weeks there'll be big movements in that regard, to try and force Putin out and to put the pressure on the Russian people, we are going to have to, even if that war stops, we are going to have to face the consequences of not buying any produce from Russia for the foreseeable future.
He's never going to be trusted again. The rest of the world will not do business with him. But it's shocking that one man in Russia has basically controlled the world and what's happening.
Yeah, he's redrawn. He's changed the world completely. But that's why it's going to take a change of leadership over there. Hopefully he's replaced by someone who is more negotiable, and we can sort of rebuild relationships much quickly because all of this is on Putin. So if he goes and is replaced,
somebody else.
It's easier, as hard as it is to imagine for the poor people of Ukraine, on a global level, it's easier to return to doing business with that country.
But it'll take decades to build them cities again. We talk about the micro here in Ireland, and it's going to take 7,000 houses or whatever is affected.
But you know that the Ukrainians, listen to the interviews, that they say we will build that. Ukraine is the people; it's not the buildings. They're sick of journalists asking them, have you got, can you get out to the shop and buy milk? They're saying, no, we're not worried about that. We're worried about stopping the war. Stop asking us questions. We can survive without milk for a couple of weeks. What you need to ask questions as is, when is this bombardment of our country going to stop? And the Ukraine is its people. They will rebuild their cities and their villages the same as we would here, I think, Derek.
With the way they built all over Europe and World War I and World War II and things, it was all rebuilt again and bigger and better maybe. But you talked about the food there. They talk about Ukraine being the bread basket of Ireland or the world. 30% means an awful lot of supply of food and grain and all that stuff, and I suppose down to oil as well. I suppose we could live without oil, but food is going to be one thing that's very, very necessary.
Yeah, but if we had supported a more diverse farming industry here rather than focusing on certain sectors and tried to sort of be more self-sustainable, we wouldn't be having to try and undo decades of policy that stopped farmers doing certain things and growing certain items.
You go back 40, 50 years ago, every man had some grain, he had some potatoes, he had some cows, he had some sheep, and he had a few pigs and whatever else.
Costed and regulated out of that. And now we're trying to undo that.
Yeah, that's exactly. Now the minister's going to the government today to put a package forward to get farmers to grow grain. But and I forget now what amount of acres they talked about. But the second problem is getting the seed to plant all that extra acreage. There are some seed available at the minute, but if there's something announced now for, I don't know, many acres, they're talking about a couple million acres or whatever, I'm not 100% sure. But where is the seed going to come out?
And the fertiliser?
And the fertiliser.
And the diesel?
And the diesel. I know diesel has come back a little bit, but boys, it is still very expensive to run a tractor, and we're only...
Well, 100 euro a hectare, I think it is, in diesel alone for grain growing.
I would well believe it, yeah. And the tractors is big now, and the less manpower on the. Back when 50 years ago, even more, I remember being on with my father and hundreds of other men in the country sitting on with a 35 tractor where 5 gallon of diesel, they kept it going all day, and there was 2 or 3 of them. Now the one tractor goes in and does the whole thing, and they are quite showing diesel, but the manpower's not there either.
I don't know, the power the oil companies though must have, in that it's like governments around the world, they don't seem to be able to say anything. It's fine for BP and Maxol and Shell to announce record profits. It's okay for that. No one or any government saying, look, you're going to have to absorb, this is a worldwide crisis, you're going to have to absorb some of the losses here and help the people. No, it's us again. They use our money to help us, if you know what I mean. A cut in VAT is money out of our pockets.
They're nearly controlling the government.
You'd wonder, wouldn't you, who's pulling whose strings?
And the same for the big, large supermarkets here in Ireland. They control the prices of everything because they're going to make their profit to their shareholders at the end of the year. And who takes the whack but the farmer at the end of the day, because the middleman has their price and it goes on then. And if the price drops, the farmer has to take it up, and sometimes you say, God, I kept that thing for a year or whatever, and the supermarkets made more profit out of it in a week, and I made out of it in 12 months.
But it's just interesting now, though, that all of a sudden it's good to see progress being made on the Foods Ombudsman, although it's being called something else. And now farmers are being seen as they've always been, seemingly, on the national stage. People in inner city Dublin or inner city Cork or Galway are now starting to take more interest in farmers in the last 2 months than they had probably in the last 20 years. Starting to realise what you guys actually do and how reliant we are on the work that you do. It's funny, not funny. It's strange that it's taken a crisis for this to happen.
Yeah, everything that's nearly on the shop shelf that's eatable has come from a farmer somewhere, down to the pot of strawberry jam on the shelf that comes from a strawberry farmer, in glass houses or wherever. The potatoes, the vegetables, the apples, everything. Their meat on the table, their chicken. The chicken man is, I'm sure, spine it very tight, the same as the pig man. The pig man's losing money every day of the week.
But now I'm hearing that some people, a person, I might as well be honest, it's not some people who would have said, farmers are always crying. Now they're saying we need to support farmers and give them what they need for us to be as self-sustainable as possible. It's funny how things change.
Yeah, absolutely. And now is the time maybe the farmers should be supported, because it takes a long time for the potato to grow in the ground to get to the shop shelf, or the grain to grow to make the loaf of bread or scone or whatever, or the cakes or whatever. There's no point like closing the stable door and the horse is gone when there's no grain in the stores. It shows how quick at the warehouses can empty out.
But do you remember that? I don't know if it's similar, but do you remember there was the shortage of, was it silage or hay? We were importing round bales. There was a big panic on.
A few years ago, coming out of England, there were lorry loads.
This is on a completely different scale than that, potentially.
Yeah. But then you see, the farming is so much controlled by the weather as well.
That's it.
It's nice to look out there today and the ground's drying up and the farmers are getting on with ploughing and maybe starting to plant seeds and barley and so on and getting slurry out. We are controlled. Like, the month of January was a grand dry month where farmers could have went out and put out a bit of slurry, but they weren't allowed to. Now, when in February come on, probably has been the wettest February for a long time, they weren't able to go out, and I was on one man's yard, and the slurry was coming up through the slats, and it couldn't
do anything with it.
It couldn't do anything with it because it wasn't allowed, and the weather was so bad.
What do farmers need the weather to be like for the next 2 or 3 weeks?
Something like today.
Dry is good.
Dry and the temperature rise up. If we had
the ground temperature it's about 6 or 7, I think, at the moment. You need it around that or above.
More. If we had about 17 or 18 or 20 there, that would be ideal. But then Ireland can't do without water either,
Don't start, Derek. I have to go to the news at 11. But if it's dry for 3 days, we're out of water because we decide to collect water in saucers above ground, and those saucers dry out very quickly. I'm talking about reservoirs and what have you. In Spain and Portugal, they get it from underground, and it's more sustainable. But anyway.
Yeah, sometimes things can be exaggerated if they say, at mixed news or whatever, across the world at water. But I know we need dry weather and we need rain, but we could take a bit of dry weather now to lift the mood of everybody and all that sort of stuff.
I know we're talking about a serious issue, but last week, this is no joke, it was raining, and I have a small house. It was raining at the back of the house and dry at the front of the house.
Yeah, quite often. If you look there, places, if you're used travelling about, you travel on the road and you go to a certain distance and you see, oh God, it's wet there, and 10 yards down the road, then it's dry.
I was on the beach in Downings last summer, and you could see the rain over Letterkenny. It's and it's sunny on the beach. Derek, listen, thanks for spending so much time with me this morning. It's been lovely chatting to you.
And good to you too. Thank you very much.
Take care. All right, thanks so much indeed. We're going to news now shortly.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
There are so many ways to enjoy fresh Irish hake for everyday or weekend meals.
like mouth-watering baked hake with a herb dressing or delicious hake risotto with basil. Irish hake is high in protein and low in fat, so it's always a healthy, nutritious option. And it's landed fresh every day, so you're supporting local fishermen too. Ask for Irish hake at your local supermarket or fishmonger. And for great recipe ideas, visit boardbia.ie/fish.
Fancy getting out of the house this weekend? Call to the Eglinton Market on Sunday from 12 noon at Eglinton Community Hall. Make sure to pop by and grab some handmade gifts, delicious local treats and artisan food. Support your local traders this Sunday at Eglinton Community Hall from 12 noon to 4 p.m.
Bluebird Care are looking for you. Bluebird Care are currently seeking carers and nurses to join their ever-expanding team. Immediate starts for carers in all parts of the county, especially Letterkenny, Inishowen and Donegal town. Bluebird Care are also looking for registered general nurses for day and nighttime 12-hour shifts. Contact Bluebird Care on 07491 9562 or visit bluebirdcare.ie and bring care home.
Pet Value Ballybuffet has just got bigger. Yes, we've opened store number 2 at St Mary's Road, Buncrana. And to celebrate, one lucky customer will win €1,000 of home heating oil. Simply call into the store during March and you will be entered into the draw. Pet Value are open Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m, Sunday 12 till 5. With fantastic offers across both stores. Pet Value, your one-stop shop for all your animal needs.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Enjoy stress-free travel this summer with Ryanair's brand new services to Birmingham, Edinburgh and Manchester. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, we'll bring you the weather forecast, which we know it's dry and about 17 degrees this afternoon. We'll bring you that though a little later on, but it is 11 o'clock and I want to get to the news desk and say good morning once again to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. There are calls for more protection for emergency services personnel after a man was arrested following an attack on a paramedic in Letterkenny yesterday morning. Gardaí attended the scene of the assault on Kinnear Lane at approximately 9 o'clock. One man was brought to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment for non-life-threatening injuries. They were sustained during the incident. A man in his 20s who was detained has since been released pending court summonses. Councillor Jerry McMonigal, the chair of the HSE West Regional Forum, says more deterrents are needed. Meanwhile, Gardaí in Letterkenny were investigating 2 assaults, one on a woman in the Beechwood area of the town in the early hours of St Patrick's morning, the other on a man in Rafo on St Patrick's night. You can hear more details and an appeal for information from Sergeant Ewan Walsh on our website, highlandradio.com. That appeal was made on the Garda community slot on the 9 till noon show this morning. US President Joe Biden says there are clear signs that Russia is considering the use of chemical weapons in Ukraine. The White House is also warning Vladimir Putin may order cyber attacks in response to the tough sanctions imposed on the Kremlin. Ukraine's president says his country's forces have managed to slow Russian advances on a number of cities. Joe Biden says Russia's tactics could become increasingly severe. A former member of NPHET says we should hold off on reintroducing mandatory COVID-19 restrictions for now. Mary Favier, the COVID advisor to the Irish College of GPs, says, however, we do need to be cautious. Over 1,300 patients remain in hospital with the virus, while nearly 64,000 cases were reported over the course of the 4-day bank holiday weekend. And another GP, Ilona Duffy from Monaghan, claimed today she believes that the number of positive cases, and particularly positive antigen tests, is severely underreported. Gardaí in Buncrana are investigating a collision between a car and a pedestrian at Parkmore in Buncrana on Wednesday evening. Last at approximately 8 o'clock, the pedestrian suffered injuries, none of them life-threatening. The car, a white Kia, was travelling from the direction of Causeway Road toward Ferris Lane at the time of the incident. Gardaí are urging anyone who witnessed the incident or may have dashcam footage to contact them on 074 93 2540. And sports facilities in local communities should benefit from Ireland's co-hosting of Euro 2028. According to the Public Expenditure Minister, the government is expected to formally back the joint bid with Britain at a meeting of Cabinet this morning. It looks likely it will be the only application to UEFA to host the tournament in 6 years' time. Minister Michael McGrath says there should be some investment into grassroots facilities off the back of the event. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
All right, Donald, thank you very much indeed. So that weather forecast, improving sunshine as the day goes on. It'll be mainly dry with just isolated showers during the late morning and early afternoon. Highest afternoon temperatures 15 to 17 degrees. Moderate to fresh southeasterly winds will ease later. So it's looking good weather-wise. Back after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Are you building, rebuilding or simply improving your home? Come along to Donegal's premier gathering of home building professionals in the Northwest. Donegal New Build and Rebuild 2022 will take place in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Admission is free to the 3-day event from April the 1st to April the 3rd. You'd be an April Fool to miss it.
This ad is sponsored by McGee Insulation.
Longcom has an exclusive beauty gift waiting just for you at McGee's Chemist. Simply purchase 2 Longcom products, one to be skincare, and receive your free 6-piece gift containing a full-size Tonique Comfort Toner, a choice of either Hydrozen or Absolute day and night travel size creams, plus more of your favourite iconic Longcom products. Available until Sunday the 27th of March or while stocks last. T's and C's apply at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Donegal Hearing Clinic, now open at Pierce Road, Letterkenny and Buncrana, now offering state-of-the-art rechargeable hearing aids free with your PRSI. Also pain-free microsuction wax removal services. Call 07491 88470 or donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic.
At SuperValue, we partner with the best Irish local food and drink producers. Our Food Academy programme has over 300 quality Irish producers, like Willie Kremen from Filligan's in Donegal. Great tasting product produced locally for you. Call in store today and discover for yourself. SuperValue. Real food, real people.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Why wait any longer for a change of scene? Why wait one more week for a world-class cocktail in a rooftop hot tub? Why wait another day for Art Deco elegance and live jazz? For a spa resort with a therapy menu as long as your arm? For dinner at a Michelin Guide recommended restaurant? Why put your next short break on the long finger when it's just a small step to a giant adventure in Northern Ireland? And you can book it now at discovernorthernireland.com. Travel advice and guidelines apply. Visit nidirect.gov.uk. and check ahead with providers.
Now, you're very welcome back to the programme. As we were talking about earlier, there was an awful situation where a healthcare worker was attacked in their line of duty. They were taken to hospital for treatment. A person has been arrested in connection with it and released, as far as I'm aware, pending a file to the DPP. Cathal Gallagher is a chief shop steward for the Northwest National Ambulance Service with SIPTU, and he joins us now. Cathal, it's awful to hear what's happened to your colleague, particularly as they're out there trying to save people's lives, trying to make people better, try and get to the hospital ASAP. You can never prepare yourself. You should never have to prepare yourself for this happening in the line of duty.
Good morning, Greg. Yeah, what happened yesterday was a shock to all members of the ambulance service right across the Northwest, in fact, right across the whole country. Unfortunately, we're no strangers to assault, but it's mostly verbal assault is what we have to put up with. And when the physical aspect comes in, it really brings home the fact that we're working in a vulnerable environment at times. Like you did say in your introduction there, we are there to help people. That's the nature of our business. We rock up in our vehicles to provide care, pre-hospital care to patients, to get them back on the road to recovery, transport them to the hospital. And we provide a service, and it's difficult to understand, what happened yesterday.
And in my experience, Cathal, your teams are great in the most difficult of circumstances. They're busy, they're at it, they're doing what they have to do, but they also are considerate to the impact that's having on others around. So I've nothing but the highest of praise. But Cathal, you spoke to the person in question. As much as you're comfortable in saying, did he explain what happened and his injuries?
the person did explain to me what happened, but Greg, I'm not going to discuss
No
that
problem,
because
understood.
There's an investigation going to happen as a result of that. The individual is extremely shook up by what happened. He thought that there was a possibility that he could have lost his life. His partner on the day, they are also highly traumatized because they witnessed the assault. And in our training, we always hear about scene safety. If the scene becomes unsafe, you try and get yourself out of that scene. While in the back of a vehicle, it can be difficult to actually, get away from the danger that is there. But through the course of what happened, the paramedic actually did manage to get out of the scene, and they then left the area, and they made their way then to safety. And that's it's a difficult one to talk about, because it could be any one of us. I want to wish the two paramedics, the person that actually suffered the physical assault,
And the partner.
and the partner, a speedy recovery and get them back to work.
Is he out of hospital, Carol? Do we know at this point?
Yes, they're out of hospital. Yes, he's out of hospital. Yes.
Let's talk more about the verbal element of it as well, because that's something more. I was going to say thankfully, but I don't mean it like that. I hope you understand. That's the more common assault, and we've seen stats on it. And it's not just ambulance staff, as we know. It's ED staff, it's hospital staff, and this is just in the healthcare area. I mean, it is common. It happens really, really regularly. It is almost part of the job to be on the receiving end of it.
It is common, but it's still, it's not acceptable. But unfortunately, when you have people that are in highly stressful situations, when they're under pressure, when people are maybe suffering a crisis, a psychiatric illness, or even under the influence of drink or drugs, we have been the victims of verbal assaults. But thankfully, within the organisation, we have a group of peer support workers that will hopefully assist the staff member that has been affected by the assault. And, going back to it, it's still not acceptable, but it does happen. And unfortunately, during the COVID, people seem to be under a lot more pressures and stressors, and, patience and tolerance is at an all-time low.
Yeah. Well, that was, in fairness, being egged on as well, suggesting that those in the health service are complicit in something or other. It eroded, I think, a bit of respect, which I hope comes back very quickly. Not amongst the majority of us, but amongst some. Let me just ask another question, because I think you've touched on a couple of things there. The instant reaction is to talk about tougher sentencing, to try and discourage verbal or physical assaults. But I think you're very fair in what you're saying, if I'm reading it correctly, that in some circumstances there could be other reasons behind this, and tougher sentences may not be even a deterrent. Is there anything we can do or should be doing beyond the obvious, what might feel like a knee-jerk reaction, to assist, to stop this happening?
I suppose education, even so far as a media campaign explaining what the ambulance service is about, and what is, tolerated and what's not tolerated. People, when they're in crisis, when they're suffering a medical or a traumatic emergency, obviously, their pain thresholds could be, at an all-time high, and reasoning might not be, achievable. But we try and perform our duties as professionals in a calm and caring manner. I believe, I speak for all my colleagues in the ambulance service, that is our core value, is to protect people, provide care and promote recovery. But we also have to protect ourselves as healthcare workers, that we're not exposed to unnecessary dangers or traumas. And, where these things happen, yes, they need to be investigated. And if the courts decide, or the investigation proves that somebody needs a custodial sentence, maybe it's a message that will, I suppose, get the knee-jerk reaction the opposite way, rather than attacking or verbally abusing ambulance staff, that people will think, hold on, These are people, these are human beings. They have a right to go home safely after a tour of duty or after a shift at work. So yeah, it's a two-way thing, Greg.
If you're chatting to your colleague again, pass on our best wishes to both of them. In fact, if that's okay, Cathal, thank you for joining us this morning.
No problem. Thank you very
take
much.
care. Right, Cathal Gallagher there, Chief Shop Steward for North West National Ambulance Services with SIPTU. A file is being prepared for the DPP, by the way. The person arrested has been released pending a court summons. A drum of kerosene is now €45. At one point, says a listener, it was under 20. Hi, Greg. Governments are purposely going to collapse the current financial system in order to bring in central bank digital currency. Transport costs have skyrocketed, to answer that man's question. When oil was $140 a barrel, the euro exchange rate was 130. Now we're getting 110, and it was 108 last week. It's the euro which has weakened against the dollar, which is the issue, not companies inflating the prices. Of course, and factor into that as well, as I mentioned in 2008, we're comparing a shorter period of time to what's happening in 2022, and also because of a recession, demand fell greatly as well. So there are variables. That doesn't mean we're here trying to defend the oil companies, right? But, you know, we don't want to drink everything that's offered to us as well as it relates to what's going on. We're told to do our research. That's what we're doing, isn't it? We're trying to find out. Okay, we're going to be talking about a situation facing the post office network, potential industrial action. And we're going to find out why. And in fact, it is kind of linked to a couple of queries we've had on this show over the last couple of weeks. You'll be interested. Stay tuned.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
DreamWorks characters have landed in McDonald's Happy Meal. Are you a chatterbox like Donkey from Shrek? Or maybe you're an expert in martial arts like Kung Fu Panda. Or do you love to dance like Poppy from Trolls? Be proud to stand out like the DreamWorks characters. Some fun, some food, it's all inside this Happy Meal. Available until the 5th of April. Subject to availability. Served from 11 a.m. Book or toy choices between toy or book, not the specific item or range.
Are you thinking seriously about changing or upgrading your car? If so, make your next call to iMotors and view our full range of Nissan and Kia. We are confident we have your next car. With fantastic offers on all new vehicles, iMotors in Letterkenny and Malin are here to help you drive away in your new 2022. For more information or to book a test drive, call our sales team today on 07491 34567 or visit imotors.ie.
Aldi has everything to make this Easter extra special. Medium Cadbury cream eggs, buttons, Kit Kat and Smarties eggs just $1.65 each. That's 3 for under €5. Large Cadbury Twirl, Whisper and Maltesers eggs just $3.99 each. And treat the kids with Easter egg hunt favourites from just 79¢. Visit Aldi or click and collect. So on your marks, egg set, go. Aldi, the home of an amazing Easter. See aldi.ie for terms and available stores. Charges apply.
Yeah, I think if you try to design a garden too much, it's artificial looking then, and you know, it's better to say go along with the garden. We see these gardening programs, you know, don't put this colour beside that colour, and don't. I think that's a lot of nonsense too. Like, you know, a plant looks nice no matter what colour it is.
That's Down the Garden Path, a new series Wednesday nights on Highland Radio, after the news at 8 p.m.
There's amazing deals every week at Watson Hire in Letterkenny. Great specials in tools, hardware and homeware. If you're a tradesperson or you're doing a one-off job, you'll find everything from power tools to hand tools and paint to work clothing. For great weekly deals and a great selection, visit Watson Hire at Kiltoy, Letterkenny. For more information, visit the Facebook page or see watsonhire.ie.
Okay, we're joined on the programme now by Ned O'Hara, who is the General Secretary to the Irish Postmasters Union. Thanks for taking the call, Ned. How are you keeping?
I'm keeping well, Greg. Thanks for having me on. Nice to speak to the people at Donegal.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you on. And obviously your members represented here. Right, okay. So there is talk of potential industrial action. Postmasters Union, they're having an emergency meeting. What's driven this situation, Ned?
number of small issues culminating in one about postal money orders and foreign exchange. Like we have 3, 4 or 5 issues that we have had within Post over the last 12 or 18 months. And particularly during COVID, when postmasters would have worked hard and provided services throughout the pandemic, I think our morale is low that we're being treated like this by An Post, given the efforts that we have made to improve our situation. So, for instance, 2 years ago, we got a Grant Thornton report said that we needed 17 million to secure the network. Postmasters have worked hard. We've taken on new services like Bank of Ireland, like we're the community bank, like new custom services because of Brexit and stuff like that. And that 17 million has been significantly reduced. But having said that, An Post still find difficulty in dealing with what we see are small issues, much to our annoyance and frustration. The latest one is there's new rules, money laundering rules in relation to foreign exchange and postal orders, or postal money orders, people would know them as, where you have to fill out a form for any size of a transaction.
Yeah, now this is, and I mean, I think most of us understand the language, but what's happening and what people are feeling on the ground is they're trying to change €80 into sterling, and they're having to fill out forms.
And filling out a form, or a €5 postal order, you have to fill up a form, give your address and your date of birth. And in fairness to people, Greg, and look, I personally take exception to a number of people who ask you for your date of birth, and I give people a fictitious date of birth. I give them the first of the first 2000. And what we're doing is we're being asked to ask people to fill in their date of birth for a €5 money order.
Is this to do with laundering, is it?
It's to do with laundering.
Does the same happen in the banks?
It does, but see, because we deal with the public, mostly in banks, it's they're known customers, and the banks have got out of foreign exchange. So we're the main foreign exchange dealer in the country at the moment. So if you want 20 quid sterling to go to do something in the north, you have to fill up a form and give your date of birth. And we just think that it's bureaucracy. Why is
it not set at some figure like 500 or 1,000 or?
Well, that's our point.
I mean, you'd be a long time laundering the proceeds of crime, changing €20 through your post office every 5 minutes.
I know, it's ridiculous, and we've had that discussion on Post, and Post explained to us that it's a law, it's coming from Brussels, it's a legal requirement, and if that's the case, that's fine. But then they expect us to do it for nothing. We are paid by transaction, so we're expected to suck this up and deal with it and take the abuse from customers. Like, we have respected people who buy postal orders who are telling us to buzz off, that they're not giving us their date of birth. So, like, we're faced with that, or we're discouraging people from coming into post office, or we put down fictitious information. So the whole purpose of the exercise becomes ridiculous.
Yeah, and listen, that affects the public, and I can understand why that's pushed to the fore, because it's going to help in the public feeling sympathy for postmasters. And I don't mean that in any way. If I were advising, that's exactly what I'd advise as well, to try and process it. But there's other things as well. Additional pay for 2021 Christmas payments withheld. Why would that be withheld, for example?
The only reason we know, we got an additional rate. We pay double payments for social welfare over Christmas. And in 2019 and 2020, we got an extra, a few pence. Pence is what we got. But it wasn't becoming available in 2021. And the only reason we can see is that An Post's bottom line is under pressure, and they're trying to cut costs whatever way they can. And I think it's linked back to the fact that the network needs investment from the government. That investment hasn't been forthcoming. An Post is squeezed financially, so their bottom line, they're trying to save every cent, and they're squeezing it out of us. Like, postmasters generate 85% of post office transactions throughout the country. And it is our view, not confirmed by An Post, but it is our view that it's pressure on their bottom line that is causing them to welch, for want of a better word, on small amounts of money. And all the issues that we have are small, Greg, and it's just a frustration that why just they don't do it. It's not a big issue. They did it in relation to the Christmas payments. It was done in 2019 and 2020. It was withheld in 2021. And we just don't understand it, other than its pressure on the bottom line. And if that's the case, the government should invest. And back to a point I made at the start, 2 years ago, Grant Thornton estimated that it was 17 million investment was required in the network. We believe that's reduced considerably.
So let me read this, if I'm reading the language correctly. Are you suggesting that An Post are using postmasters as pawns to leverage against the government?
I don't know. Because
they recorded €33 million profit in 2020. Now, I know that there was
I'm not sure what the position is in 2021. Our understanding is that there wasn't a profit made in 2021. Certainly 20. And in fairness, the pandemic cost.
With everything that's going on, I just don't understand why squeeze on the postmasters. I presume there's other area of businesses that they they could cut back on. I mean, is there another motivation here? Because this is reneging on a commitment. It's quite significant for a company of this size to not be following through on contractual commitments.
Well, I can't answer for Unpus other than we're deducing it's adding to our frustration, and that's why we're calling the meeting. Like we're not combative or belligerent by nature. We want to provide service to the people. We have worked hard to provide services. We're trying to portray, and we are portraying a more positive image. We are providing services. We are becoming the community bank in relation to doing Bank of Ireland services. We do AIB. We do even the Ulster Leaving. We're doing Ulster. We want to do more of that stuff, and we can do stuff from that for the government. We can do identity verification. We can do passport verification. All of that stuff. The government promised us this time last year a report on service provided by the Post Office. Hasn't appeared, Greg. So I don't know.
Can you cost this? In other words, for Unpos to meet the basic 5 demands to avoid this, and maybe there'll be compromise if discussions happen. But how much money would you say we are talking for them to satisfy the concerns of postmasters across the country?
I haven't. Funny enough, I haven't done that sum, but it'll be less than $1 million.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
It's not much money in the context of an 800 million organisation.
Well, 900 plus million in 2020, but I presume that's going to fall back.
And this is the frustrating part for us. Like we are contractors, we're agents. We generate 84 or 85% of their revenues through the Post Office network, through the contractors part of the Post Office network. We are not the enemy here. Their way to make money is for us to do more business, because we only get paid if we do business, and if we do business, they do business. It just baffles us, and like frustration isn't the correct word for it, and like that's why we finish up calling the meeting next week, Greg.
What does industrial action look like, by the way? Finally, what does industrial action look like now? Do you want to avert that? But
I don't know what it would look like. It won't involve soldiers, because we're too important to so many people in relation to the service we provide. It may be withdrawal of some services. I don't know. We'll be guided by the members, Greg. But like, we don't want...
You'll want to put the squeeze on Post rather than your customers, I presume, in any case, whatever you decide. Okay.
Yeah. So
right, Ned.
Don't. Okay.
Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it. Now, Ned O'Hara, there, General Secretary to the Irish Postmasters Union, 0860. That explains... when you're going in and you're almost asking your inside leg measurement, it's coming from Brussels via the network. But I mean, 80. Who's laundering €80? I don't know. All right. A caller says there are thousands of vacant holiday homes in Donegal. Why not utilise them to house refugees and reinvigorate rural areas like Fannin, who've suffered depopulation over the years? Well, that's people's investments. We heard earlier on people going, well, the census is being used as a means for Agenda 2030 to take people's homes off them. That suggestion is similar to that. These are people's properties. Do we want to go down that route where people maybe don't trust banks, maybe don't trust pension funds, and they've worked their you-know-whats off and they've invested it in a holiday home? It might be their retirement home. Are we really going to go in and take their homes off them and give them to other people? Maybe it could be incentivized and invite them to do so, but are you suggesting that we do it by, not by force, but I don't know, is that the route we want to get on? Okay, we've still plenty to come, by the way. Another 33 minutes of the 9 till noon show for this Tuesday. Tell us, on a positive note, what do you want to do with this weather? What are you doing? What's it enabling you to do? Are you enjoying this bit of good weather? Is it giving you a pep in your step? Is there anything that you've, are you even, dare I say, dusting off the barbecue, taking it out of the shed and realising that someone didn't put it away correctly? All the metal is covered and caked in grease. There's food at the bottom of it. It's pitting and rusty. And all because you told him or her to put it away correctly and they didn't. Is there any stories like that? Is that a reality in your home if you're lucky enough to have a barbecue? All right, back after this break with more.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure has everything you need to gear up for the GAA season this year. Get your hands on the brand new Donegal GAA home jersey, available in men's, ladies and kids, or gear up the whole family for pre-season and match days with the new Harlem range of sweaters, leggings and snoods at michaelmurphysports.ie.
Are you troubled with painful varicose veins? Restore your confidence with vein treatment at Kingsbridge Private Hospital, Letterkenny. Our vascular consultants offer assessment, advice and options on the latest treatments available. So why wait? Say goodbye to varicose veins and hello to healthy legs. With appointments available, why not book your consultation today? Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.ie to find out more. Because life matters.
All ready for next year? Why not make sure of it with SEAT? Trade up to a 221 SEAT SUV and you'll be offered PCP finance from 1.9% and a 3-year service plan for just $9.99 a month. With the bold new Arona, the stylish new Ateca, or the outstanding 7-seater Tarraco, we're all ready. Are you? Trade up to your 221 SEAT SUV at DMG Motors, Clare Road, Donegal Town. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland, trading as SEAT Financial Services. Subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit seat.ie/221 for further information.
Looking for a flexible, affordable home improvement loan? From your kitchen renovation to getting your garden barbecue ready, B&S Credit Union's Renovate loan is ready to go. For loans from €5,000 to €70,000, visit their website at bnscu.ie or free phone 1-800-290-390, where their dedicated and experienced loans team will be delighted to help you. Loans are subject to approval, terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Alice Doyle is National Chair of Farm Family Committee with the Irish Farmers Association and joins us now. Alice, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
A resplendent scene behind you, but the cows aren't moving, so I'm going to edge my bets and say that's a picture.
That's my farm earlier in the year, down here in the southeast. So
Lovely
before
stuff.
Sunday morning, the sky is similar to what it is today. The grass might be quite as flush, but other than that, doing good.
Good stuff. Now, there's a lot to get your head around, isn't there, with the Fair Deal scheme? It's complex, it's complicated, maybe even more so for farming families.
Yes, it is, Greg. It's a well-known scheme. Lots of people have been using it, and farmers as well as business people and people outside those both areas have been using it for quite a number of years. But for farmers in particular, there has been a number of changes made in the last year or so. In October last year, 2021, a new development came in where the scheme, the nursing home scheme, had an amendment brought in which put a 3-year cap on the payments for farmers if they met certain criteria. Now that applied to most people who owned houses, etc., outside farming for many years. But until last year, farmers were liable to pay 7.5% each year of the value of their farm or their assets, ongoing with no cap. But fortunately, the Minister brought in an amendment, Mary Butler, on the 21st of October last year, and this has had a significant impact on the amount of money that people would have to pay back. But
and I think it's quite obvious why a cap needed to be put in there, particularly with farms, their role in the family and how they pass through generations. For those reasons alone, do you accept the IFA, the 7.5% max of the value of a farm business assets each year, capped at 3 years? Is that the best deal that could have been achieved? Is that fair?
Well, at the moment, yes. We spent a lot of time. We spent nearly 9 years negotiating that to get that. So it may sound like an awful lot to still have to pay, and it is, and nobody is denying that it is a huge amount still to have to pay. But it is certainly better than having to pay 7.5% ongoing with no cap on it. But we certainly would love it to be less, but it is 7.5%. We have to accept that. And we accept it.
Sorry, pardon my ignorance, Alice. Is it up to 7.5%? Because obviously farms of different size, would be worth different amounts of money. 7.5 the maximum.
Yes, 7.5.
Okay.
It you 7.5%, no matter what size of your farm. So whether you have a farm worth 300,000 or a farm worth 800,000, it's 7.5% of the value of that. So the higher the value of your farm, the 7.5% of that is higher value, is higher percentage. It's a higher amount anyway. It's still 7.5%, but that's a higher amount.
And how is that? How is that taken from? Because some of it's going to be assets, presumably, not necessarily cash. How is that leveraged against the value of the farm?
Okay. If you are in the new, if you avail of the amendment, what happens is in that situation, in order to avail of the 3-year cap, what happens is the farmer, we take it that it's the farmer is going into the nursing home. It could be his wife either, but we take it's the farmer in this case. So if the farmer is wants to avail of the Fair Deal scheme, the first thing he has to do is he has to nominate a successor, because this is a very important part of the new arrangement. So a successor must be nominated. That successor can be son, daughter, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, but or niece or nephew. You cannot go outside that. You cannot go farther out than that. They must be nominated to take over the farm. That person must agree to farm the farm for a minimum of 6 years, and also they must agree to pay 7.5% of the value of the farm for the first 3 years of the person being in the nursing home.
I'm not looking to be particularly negative, but is there any concerns that farmers or farm families could be exploited through this process?
In what sense, Greg?
In the sense of maybe being coerced into signing the farm to somebody else, or things like that. There, I mean, I know there are protections, and I'm just wondering if it sounds like something that someone might feel pressured into going into, say, for instance, a nursing home by a member of the family or something.
Yeah, there is always that worry, of course, but whether it's a farmer or somebody with just a house, you have to do the same pressures.
Of course.
You have the need for a nursing home, you have to fund it, you don't have the money to fund it, and you do have to try, you may have to look after the person, and maybe the only way. So yes, I suppose there's always that little worry there that people feel coerced into doing it. But they do it voluntarily in the sense that they have to sign it.
And as you say, it's across the board. It's not unique. It's not unique to it. It's just the fact that it's also a family business. It's maybe slightly different than a property. But listen, as I say, I'm not trying to amplify any negatives here, Alice.
And I get it too, the fact that it's a family business. A lot of consideration goes into it before that form is signed. People don't do it in a rushed way, and we would be advising from IFA very much so to anyone who's considering availing of this scheme to take a lot of legal advice, to take a lot of financial advice. Don't sign the form the second it's put in front of you. Somebody you realise, well, my mother, my father needs to be in a nursing home in a hurry because they've had a bad stroke, maybe, and can't be minded at home. Don't feel that you have to sign that form immediately. So we would strongly advise, take a lot of legal advice, take a lot of financial advice before you sign that form.
Okay, right. So the webinar is on Tuesday, the 22nd of March at 8 p.m, which is today. You can register online at the IFA website. It's one of those things, knowledge is power. And even if it's not on your horizon immediately, I think it would be worth logging on to hear what's what. Because as I say, it's complex, and you have experts on hand to discuss this.
We would very much urge people to log on tonight. It's very easy to log on because we will have the experts from the HSE. Ulton Hines, who is an expert in this area, will be on tonight, and he will be there to give an understanding of how all this happens, and he will also take questions. So we urge you to join us tonight at 8 o'clock, and you can log in through the IFA website, or you can contact the County PRO in Donegal, who is Tom Boyd, and Tom has given me permission to give you his number, which is 085 757 9026, and Tom will give you a link to it as well.
Alice, thank you very much indeed. We really appreciate your time this morning. That was Alice Doyle, National Chair of Farm Family Committee with the IFA. As I say, if you're interested in that, go on to the IFA's website, that webinar tonight, March 22nd at 8 p.m. Okay, now we're joined on the programme by John Dean O'Keefe, criminologist and lecturer of law and forensic psychology. Good morning to you, John. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today. John, can you hear me okay? Right, okay, we'll come back in a moment to that. In the meantime, I'll read just a few of your comments here. All healthcare workers, says this caller, should be covered by law against assault, whether it's in a hospital setting or outside their work. Another re-Irish neutrality. Ireland is now the last nation in Europe to remain neutral in the face of Russian aggression. Well, we're not politically neutral, certainly military, but not politically. While other neutral nations like Finland have joined the fray, cowardly, despicable, hypocritical Ireland is rattling collection boxes and sending really ready-made meals. The Fighting Irish don't make me laugh. The only fight the Irish put up is when last orders are called at the bar. I think that's a terrible assessment of us as a nation. Right, John Dean O'Keefe. John Dean, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
As I mentioned, it's John Dean or John and then Dean O'Keefe.
Dean O'Keefe, surname.
Okay.
D-E-A-N-E.
I like John Dean. We could have worked with that, but John, it is okay. As I mentioned just in a preamble there, you are a criminologist and a lecturer of law and forensic psychology.
Yes, correct.
Now, Vladimir Putin is going to be discussed at LYIT's psychopathy lecture, which you're involved with. What's your assessment of Putin and his actions? Can we tell from afar?
No, it's going to be pretty difficult to tell from afar. I mean, there's a huge temptation, of course, to describe him as, well, I don't know, mad, bad, or sad, or perhaps a mixture of all three. But look, making any sort of clinical assessment or even quasi-clinical assessment from this distance is farcical. I mean, there are some things we can say about him, I suppose. It's hard to come to a formal conclusion about his mental state, but we could look at it one way and we could assess if he were suffering from a true psychiatric illness. So, for example, schizophrenia or paranoid schizophrenia, and I think that's highly unlikely. Those listeners who are unfortunate enough to know somebody with that particular illness will know it just simply doesn't manifest in that way. Those unfortunate people make bad choices for everybody else, but also for themselves, which Putin doesn't appear to be doing. So I think we can rule what we might call a true mental health illness, heavy quotes, out. Which brings us to another area, of course, which is that of personality disorders, and is really, if I can put it this way, a happier space to consider him in. Personality disorders are where we have extreme difficulty living with ourselves and others, and this is in the extreme. About 14% of any given population are assessed to be suffering from it, although obviously mostly undiagnosed. There's one particular cluster of personality disorders, emotional and impulsive, which he's often thrown into for his actions. In other words, the dark triad of behaviors of narcissism, malignant narcissism as it's called, and psychopathy, which is what we'll be talking about tomorrow night. I think it's probably a bit easy and a bit trite to just call him a psychopath as well, because we just simply don't know. Certainly he appears to have psychopathic traits, but then again, there are others he appears not to have. One of them being impulsivity. We can see it on one level, but actually it appears as if a lot of his actions are thought through. So I think it would be difficult to ascribe him that. I think probably where we're closer to is what's called malignant narcissism, which, if you like, is a cousin of psychopathy, to put it simply, and is the kind of Maiwadi version, if I could call it that. It's somewhat diluted. There will be elements of genuine remorse occasionally in that person's life. He could certainly be falling into that type of area.
Can someone who is completely on an even keel and sane instruct an army to effectively kill 44,000 people in a city in Ukraine? I mean, can a truly sane person do something like that?
Well, the sad truth is absolutely. So if we put aside for a minute personality disorders, mental health illness in total, what we can have is, heavy quotes, a normal person who is the product of their social, environmental and family backgrounds. I mean, we don't need to go into his history now. It's pretty well known amongst most of us. But of course, he had a very sort of strange upbringing with his mother and father, and there's real dispute about whether the mother and father who he claims to be his mother and father were in fact his mother and father. Two older brothers, both who died before him in childhood. A very strange upbringing based on his father, talking a lot. He worked for Lenin and for Stalin as their cook. A kind of a strange upbringing based on the sort of uber masculinity of the Soviet Union. And of course, he was then, to cut a very long story short, he was then soon to be head of the old KGB, liaising with the Stasi in Eastern Germany, and then subsequently head of the FSB, which is the new version of the KGB in the Russian Federation. So what we have to do is look at that background and what formed him, and indeed the Russian nation, and then look at perhaps a couple of really interesting headings. The first is, which is what all humans have a desire for, is cognitive closure, to feel the need, for the assurance for our future that there's going to be a beginning, middle, and an end. Now, of course, humanity is a spectrum. For you or I, it might simply be, God, I hope I have a nice lunch today, and that was a decent show, and, it might be quite simple stuff. But for others, it can be expanding the Russian Empire. It can be bringing back the good old days as they would see it. So we all look for that. And we get cognitive closure by black and white thinking like no other, which, of course, is what he's doing. So everybody's against Russia, the Russian Federation at the moment. They're all against him. And this almost creates the perfect in and out group for him. The Millwall Football Club chant, no one likes us, we don't care. It would be almost better if the world was divided on their response to him, you might say, because then he would have to assess that nuanced position. But now it's easy. It feeds into all the black and white strategy. He has closure. And more importantly,
everyone else is wrong.
Sorry?
Everybody else is wrong.
Everyone is wrong, and it's much easier. If you don't have to nuance everything, that's okay. And of course, he can't nuance it, because then he'll be completely wrong. Yeah. His whole life will have been a lie, and the lives of his people will have been a lie. So he creates this terrible outgroup. And of course, he's looking for another thing. Personal significance, and again, it's a prize like no other. We all want it. Some of us want to be a footnote in history. Some of us want to be a footnote of a footnote. Others don't want to be anything.
This is where his state might be questionable, because if he is, able to make. If he's not a psychopath or whatever, right? He surely must see that he cannot rebuild the USSR because the world has changed, and that would require engagement with NATO, and then that would lead to, Third World War, nuclear winters, and millions of death. So he can never recreate the USSR within the world as it is. So he must be looking at a bigger picture, or he must not be fully in control of himself.
Well, we can say he'll never create the USSR, but he thinks something different. We need to walk in his shoes, not the Western shoes. We need to walk in those Russian shoes that he's been plodding in for almost 70 years now. And by the way, there's a lot of evidence to suggest he could be right. He does what he wants in Syria, nobody interferes. Chemical weapons are used, biological weapons are used, nobody interferes. He then invades the Crimean Peninsula, nobody interferes. Eastern Ukraine, he takes over, nobody interferes. And now suddenly we're interfering. But guess what? We're not actually interfering.
So are we enablers?
Well, we are. I'm not saying that's not a political necessity. I'm not suggesting we should stop enabling and just, I'm not suggesting. I'm just saying we are caught between a rock and a hard place. If we think he's caught between a rock and a hard place, it's nothing compared to the rest of us, because we have given out this mixed message of weakness and quasi-strength, which is exactly. So you've got to get into his mind. As far as he's concerned, he is getting back the Soviet Union. He only has to now move on to Latvia, Estonia, and the other Baltic states, and everything will be hunky-dory. And are the West going to press the button? No, they're probably not going to press the button. Yeah. So what he's doing is this madman theory. If I behave mad enough, people will actually think it. There's an element of that, I think, going on. That's not to say he doesn't have personality issues. Of course, we have to assume there are some there.
Yeah.
But whether he's the madman that he's portrayed as, I'm really doubtful of. Really doubtful.
Well, can we look at someone like Boris Johnson? I'd be interested in your assessment of him. And I'm not in it now. Boris Johnson got into trouble for talking about the Ukraine resistance being the same as the Brexit resistance. He didn't actually quite say that, and I was really quite disappointed in the BBC how they reported it, because I believe his comments were misrepresented. But listen, he's got a history. Be that as it may, I'm not comparing him to Vladimir Putin. But in terms of, in the face of all types of criticism, sticking it out as it relates to the Downing Street parties, pushing Brexit through and still maintaining that's a good thing, even though, the consequences have been really quite poor for his country. What personality traits do you think Boris Johnson possesses?
Well, look, I'm not so entirely sure that Boris Johnson is that different from Putin.
I just didn't want to say
talking
it.
about personality types. Sorry?
I just didn't want to say it. Okay.
No, I'm not convinced at all. In fact, I'm more convinced he is like him. Now, is Boris Johnson going to go to war in the way or any way that Putin has? Absolutely not. But just park that for the moment. There's reasons for that, I would suggest. But he's evidencing all the traits of Putin, which is a remorseless disregard for others. And the only satisfaction is in the self. Now, I'm talking about a lack of remorse and a lack of empathy that is 100%. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, that some of the times you won't engage in shallow emotions and look as if you care. And Boris Johnson tries the lower wobbly lip sometimes. It doesn't work very well. He's not very good at it because he really doesn't care. I mean, that's very obvious he doesn't care. He wouldn't be so different from a lot of politicians, to be quite honest. Not all of them, but a lot of them can be entirely self-serving from a personality perspective. The difference, of course, is Boris Johnson's interests are in not going to war. You know, he was brought up in a different environment where, you know, democracy almost has a military ring about it, whereas Putin is brought up in an environment where military means military. So it's very normal in Russia to go to war. It's very normal to be hero worshipping, to talk about valor, to take your shirt off, to sit on a horse and look like, as we might say in Ireland, an Egypt, if not a half Egypt. But that's not the way you interpret it when you're sitting in the Russian Federation. So Boris Johnson may not press any buttons. He may not go to war. In fact, he almost certainly won't. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have a very similar personality type to Putin and indeed many other leaders over the years.
Is cognitive closure a new thing? Not new, or are we more aware of it now? Like, I'm thinking of an awful lot that's happened over the last few years, be it elections in the United States. I'm not sure if this falls into that same bracket, but, you know, the divisions in society, people's reaction to COVID, people being so passionate about mask wearing or whatever it might be. Is that all in the space of cognitive closure?
Yeah, I would say it is. Look, I think since time immemorial, humans have tried to get closure. It might be just running around with a club in your hand seeing if you could kill a deer. You know, it might be as unsophisticated as that. But guess what? When you can eat, that's the long day closing. That's okay. That's a good day. Of course, things are much more sophisticated now, but are they? It's really the same principle. Of course, like everything else in psychology, we can't stop talking about it, and we do love a good label. So everything gets labeled, and I can be criticized for that here today. But cognitive closure is important. We all need a beginning, a middle, and an end. We look for chapters that close out in our lives every day. We look for resolution. And guess what? Black and white thinking plays into that. Good and evil, in-group, out-group, Satan, God, saints, sinners, order, chaos, on it goes. It's really simple. And of course, Boris Johnson, you mentioned him earlier, is falling into that exact same pattern, of course, which is that Putin is evil and we are good. And Putin is saying, no, I am good and you are evil. And on it goes. But regardless, the cognitive closure is something we all look for. What we don't like are shades of grey, because frankly, that's a bit boring and requires us to think.
Okay. Bad men in good jobs, personality disorders, psychopathy and Putin. It's the LYIT Law Society hosting this on Wednesday, the 23rd of March tomorrow. It's at 6 p.m. in room 1101 for a talk with the person we're speaking to now, leading criminologist and lecturer in forensic psychology, John Dean O'Keefe. John, can you, in a couple of minutes, tell us more about this roller coaster journey that you can take us on?
Well, it'll be, but it's just a snippet here. But what we're going to do is tomorrow evening try and look at Putin's life, look at things that happened to him in his childhood, in his middle life and his later life, and see if we can get a framework within which we can begin to potentially understand Putin and people like Putin, the Hitlers, the Francos, the Mussolinis, and then you go back as far as you want, you go forward as far as you want. Of course, really, one of the conclusions, and it's not a spoiler alert here, is that guess what? Humanity is a spectrum. And we all sit on this spectrum. And some of us are incredibly good, whatever that means. And some of us are incredibly bad.
And people like you and I probably have the Goldilocks syndrome. You know, we're hanging around the middle. We're not too good. We're not too bad. You can have a laugh at us, but we can get angry. And we're going to explore all of that tomorrow.
Brilliant stuff. I think it's going to be fascinating. I've heard fantastic things about your previous work. So I'm sure that's going to be excellent too. Thank you so very much indeed. That was John Dean O'Keefe, criminologist and lecturer of law and forensic psychology.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. Time to call McElhenney and Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order, and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing, or voluntary transfer. Call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney and Associates, Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is a guaranteed 17 million euro. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
At Smith Steelside, we have been milling since 1865, covering the northwest and west of Ireland. For all your animal feed and nutritional needs, call Smith Steelside on 074 9171 300.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go woo!
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
Worth 10,000 euro.
Plus $5,000 spending money.
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Draw takes place April 14th on the 9 till noon show.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
Remember a loved one with a personalised memorial, acknowledgement or wallet card from BizPrint using your choice of wording and background. Call in and speak to Catherine at BizPrint, Port Road, Letterkenny, or call 9177955.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Get ready to hit the beach and soak up the sun by choosing flights to Alicante, Barcelona, Faro, Mallorca, Malaga and Milan this summer with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport, you're flying.
Okay, so today you're going to see lots of sunshine, just the odd isolated shower, but they've cleared at this point now anyway. Highest temperatures 15 to 17 degrees, moderate to fresh southeasterly winds will ease later. Mainly dry with clear spells and mist patches tonight. Lowest temperatures generally 3 or 4 degrees, dipping close to freezing locally inland with a touch of grass frost in light southeasterly breezes. Wednesday will be mainly dry and sunny. Highest temperatures of 13 to 17 degrees in mostly light southwesterly breezes. So tomorrow looking nice as well. Thoughts with the very busy people who service lawnmowers and strimmers, because as soon as we've seen a bit of sun, don't you know, straight out of the shed, straight down saying, can you have it ready by the weekend, rather than us getting it done at the end of last season or over Christmas. I would say it happens every year. All right, was Bush insane or was England when they went to war? I think from that conversation, it takes a certain type of person to make those decisions, to justify those decisions, and there is certainly a crossover. I don't think anyone's suggesting, not anyone, I don't think our last guest was suggesting otherwise. The only 2 nuclear bombs dropped on the world were by America. Would he say Truman was a madman? Again, I think what he would say, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but given his answers to other questions I asked, they would be operating in the same brain space. Just want to let you know that this week on highlandradio.com we're highlighting Neurodiversity Celebration Week. It runs until the 28th. Patrick Sharkey speaks to different neurodivergent people from throughout Donegal and further afield about the challenges they have overcome in daily life. The guests span from all 4 corners of Donegal, telling many different stories dealing with ADHD, autism, dyspraxia, dyslexia and Asperger's syndrome. Daily podcasts will be available on highlandradio.com each day at 11 a.m. through to Friday. And just a word on that, there's more content available for you to listen back on our website. Brendan Devaney's DL Debate. It's available for you on Mondays. We've got a business podcast for you on Wednesdays with Kieran. The Score with Oisín Kelly on a Thursday. We've got special documentaries upcoming for you as well, which you'll be able to watch. You'll be able to podcast on our website as well. It's in the on-demand section. Go in there, have a scroll through, and you can enjoy the content when it suits you. So we're scheduled here for you, but we're also available for you, as the title of that page on the website would suggest, on demand. And all the while, we're going to be layering up content for you and engaging with you in all different ways. But my engagement for today with you has come